Hey, welcome to the Redeye stream. And welcome to Mad Dodge Productions. I am joined here today by is Insanity is Free? Is that your YouTube channel, sir? Or
My YouTube is Jeremiah Talks. I have Insanity is Free, but the problem is that it was a bunch of cringy videos that I really don't want to, have like that. That's not my presence anymore, to put it mildly. Maybe someday I'll use that channel again, but fucking right now my primary presence is Jeremiah Talks.
all right, awesome. And I did throw your link down in the description because you were nice enough to retweet my tweet and throw your link out there. So I'm joined by Jeremiah Talks and also, of course, Penoid's in the house. What up, Penoid?
What up, my brother? How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I felt like crap yesterday, man. Maybe I was hungover. That could have been it.
You need to quit drinking so goddamn much, man. I keep telling you.
No.
It's gonna catch up with you. It's gonna catch up eventually, bro. I'm trying to tell you.
How dare you? Don't you censor my drinking. But all right. So I want to touch upon well, the usual thing here lately on my channel has been the whole virus and the overreaction and the government overreach, the quarantines, the fact that we're being told where to go, how to go there, and what we're allowed to even say at this point. I mean, I can't even say what the name of the virus is on YouTube right now, right?
They call it Bugaboo.
Yeah, well, I was calling it the beer virus, and then I was getting crap. Oh, you're making fun of it. You're just calling it the beer virus. No, man, I can't even say the name.
Well, why don't you just go tell those people to go fuck themselves? I mean, like,
Yeah.
if so, either it's all okay or it's none of it's okay. The old mantra of South Park, like, if you can't joke about everything, then jokes are pretty much irrelevant and meaningless. Jokes are supposed to be there to be a release. So if you're not mocking them and if you're only using it to circumvent the algorithm, then it's fine. And if you are making jokes, then it's also fucking fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have really seen, especially from the governor of Oregon, vast overreach. She wants to put us. Okay, they signed this West Coast Pact, pretty much like West Side. It sounds good, right? Yeah, West Side. No, it's not good. It's pretty much circumventing our own liberties. That way we can follow along with LA County. I don't care about LA County. I don't live there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, why am I following along with them at this point?
Because that's the nature of the state, is total collectivist compliance.
Oh, well, let's elaborate on that. How can we circumvent that? Because we really have no redress of grievances here.
Well, you have redress of grievances though, man, like with the government, but like you don't have it when it comes to corporations, because corporations, they have the right to, whatever their private nonsense. I feel you like the corporations stand here and they fucking lobby Congress to make their own rules and put in laws to fuck over the smaller individuals, to prevent individuals being able to compete with their shit. Like, I completely understand with that, and that's a state issue. Right. But like on the same point, like, you have a right to redress your grievances with the government. I mean, you just have to be willing to have enough individuals follow behind you to do so. It's always been, that's how that operates.
Okay. Well, let me read something for you from because I know we talked briefly before this conversation about how y'all have been shifting PaleoCon. Well, I wanna sort of yank you the other direction and talk from a left libertarian perspective of Samuel Edward Konkin III's agorism. And I want to mention just a brief phrase from the New Libertarian Manifesto where he talks about corporations. Many worthy libertarians argue that the market structures of businesses, partnerships, and joint stock companies provide all the organization necessary or desirable, save maybe for personal mating or socializing. In one sense, they are correct in that all structures must be market compatible or be inconsistent with agorism. In another sense, They're guilty of a lack of imagination and a concern of form over substance. In an agorist society, division of labor and self-respect of each worker capitalist entrepreneur will probably eliminate the traditional business organization, especially the corporate hierarchy. Now listen to this part especially. An imitation of the state and not the market. Most companies will be associations of independent contractors, consultants, and other companies. Many may just be one entrepreneur and all his services, computers, suppliers, and customers. This mode of operation is already around and growing in the freer segments of Western economy. So he makes the distinction, and rightly so, that first off, that my face is paper white right now because it's reflecting my screen, so I'll deal with that. And then second off, that the corporate hierarchy is an invention of the state, which it definitely is. We're dealing with institutions that gain their power from being separate, but quote equal, yet somehow more equal than the other animals in terms of their legal protections, in terms of what they can get away with as a collective versus the individual. And in doing so, we get people, saying things like corporations are people, arguing for corporate personhood, and saying that these institutions should be allowed to do what they do because they're this large enough group and because they have state authority to do so. But the state is what gives them that authority. The state is what makes corporations opaque. So I would just, advise that you consider that when making statements like corporations don't have redress, but governments do. Because let's be very specific, corporations get all their power from governments, and that's what gives them that authority, that ability to be opaque. But governments also use corporations to get what they want anyway, which is why they exist. So the essential...
sorry to cut you off, but don't you think corporations are made up of people? Therefore, the people themselves still have individual rights. Therefore, when somebody like Benoit comes out and says that a corporation is
all right, so like I think you're looking at this in the wrong manner, right? First off, like no, inside of a corporation, an individual has no rights because you're being paid by that corporation to perform a service, right? So therefore, it's a contractual agreement between you and the corporation that you're going to behave and conduct yourself in a certain manner, and they're going to have expectations for who you're going to be, right, and what you're going to do. So therefore, as long as you live within those rules, you'll have, the basic, rights as a human being. But other than that, like, you're not going to actually have, anything outside of things. And
yeah, but what I mean, wait
a minute.
Owned by a person. They're owned by an individual. That individual
they're not owned by individuals. They're owned by an aggregate of individuals.
That's if they're on the public market.
Well, that's what he's talking about.
Necessarily need to be public.
Yes, a corporation does have to be public, and literally, incorporation means you have like a whole bunch of individuals who are buying stocks and own a piece of that company, right? So it's an aggregate of individuals. So therefore, it's a collective.
So I'm talking business. You're talking corporation.
All right. All right. Okay. So here's my problem with his argument, like as an in general thing. My issue is that basically it's not the fact that these corporations act like states. It's the fact that human beings, when they end up coming together and, forming, mutual agreements, will always act the same way. So in forming a corporation or forming a state or forming a community or forming a family, no matter what you do, you will always have the hierarchical mentalities that you're going to get. Like, that's just human nature. That's how things
operate. Argue against hierarchy?
Not at all in any way, shape, or form, right? That's not what I'm looking at the moment. I'm not standing here like, putting you out as a Marxist. What I'm standing here trying to say is that these individuals, when you form a corporation and you have a bunch of individuals who are working there, it's going to act like a state because that's what human nature is to do. Like there's human beings really don't have a lot of ways to be able to coexist with one another inside of, a cooperative, and not have a statist mentality. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how this makes the government more transparent, less opaque than a corporation.
Well, it's not. The government and the corporation they're basically the same thing. The government is incorporated, like they're the same thing.
That was my point. My point was that the distinction between corporations and the state, where you have the ability to get redress of grievances from the government, but not corporations, is false. And in fact, kind of inverted, because corporations, you can simply stop buying their products. Government, you can't simply walk away, because corporations, they're not going to use force to force you to buy their stuff. That's not how they operate. They operate by controlling markets, sure, but ultimately you can walk away. The government, though, the government will use violence. If you disobey them, especially right in front of them, expect to get your teeth knocked out. These people are the monopoly on violence, and the only reason the corporations have the power they do is because that violence monopoly let them and gave it to them.
Yeah, like that tends to be how it operates. Like again, like a state has but one way of dealing with things. Like a state controls a monopoly on violence. That's the only thing it really has to hold it together as far as stuff's concerned.
Like Max Beck said.
Yeah, but we don't have any better way of doing things.
Why not?
Because human beings are dumb.
Well,
human beings are.
Let's step away from the corporation aspect here, because no, I still want to touch upon the government overreach and where is our redress? Okay, I can call my governor. She's not going to listen to me. She thinks I'm crazy. She ran all the conservatives out of Salem. They literally ran to the hills last year because she was going to arrest them unless they voted on something. I have no state of redress here.
You don't.
Well, you have an ability to redress your grievances, and like what you do is you go on whitehouse.gov and you write out the petition that you're going to put in, right? And then you stand here and you show it out
for redress.
Again, if it gets
not
enough
redressing
attention,
itself.
But if you get it enough attention, like individuals will go, yes, let's hit the government with this, and they'll be forced to move.
So government is senpai, and you want noticing.
No, government is not senpai. Government is us. It's a bunch of dumb individuals.
I'm not the government, and the government is not us.
The government is us.
Pinoid, I kind of agree with you, but I'm going to side with him on this one. No, it's not us. It hasn't been for a long time. It's the elitists. All right. So I believe in a fair and open market because I want to be that rich son of a bitch on the hill someday. All right. But I'm not him yet. And you know who is? The old money. And who's in politics? The old money.
How many people work for the government?
Really? You want me to tally that up? I have no.
I know the number. I know the number. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, well, then why don't you answer it? Give us that specific number.
47 million people.
One moment.
Right? 47 million fucking Americans work for the government. Again, the government is us when it really comes down to it. It is a vast majority.
Nowhere near that many, according to how many employees are there in the federal government? 2 million.
Not just federal. No.
Oh, okay. So by the government, you're including California. I thought you didn't want to be associated with them.
I don't, but they're part of it. They're part of the.
They're part of your government.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are associated with them. You are California. Fantastic.
We're the United States. Anytime, like, yo, you think
I'm not the United States?
No,
I'm Jeremiah Harding. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Okay, so he's going to go down to the individual basis. I'm not going to go that far, but I am going to go to the states' rights issue. I'm going to go to the 10th Amendment and say, no, it's these United States, not the United States. All right? Words have meanings.
Yeah, but like, yo, when they stand here and they bail out the pension funds for California and Illinois and all the other places from the feds, like, yo, they're all tied together. It's all the same thing.
Okay,
so you're tied to the state.
Candid is in the chat. She's my lawyer. She's wonderful. And she's throwing you a bone here, Jeremiah. Can we focus on this guy's glorious beard? So she wants to talk about your beard for a minute.
If you want to.
No, I'm sorry. I just thought that was funny.
It is amusing. I'm wondering what the conversation would be, though. I mean, it's keratin and collagen solids.
Well, do you use anything special? You know, you got that hippie beard stuff, or
I don't use beard oil. I primarily just eat a high protein and fat diet, like a decent amount of fat in that equation as well. Like I buy a huge amount of heavy cream, for instance, and I pretty much put that in everything. And I try to eat high fat stuff, and like that lets more of the hair retain because it strengthens the roots when you let it hydrate and get that oil absorption. But I don't use any external oils, and I also don't follow those instructions to, like, you know, wash it maybe once a year like some of these gross people do, or, you know, like not brush it at all.
Do people actually say only wash your beard once a year? That is disgusting.
There are some people who never wash their beards, and I don't understand how they can live with that, especially like because their mantra is don't get it wet, and like, I don't know, my skin starts feeling a little raw after like a week and a half, so I'm pretty much good on that score. I run through it with some Tresemme every like month.
Well, no, and I like the 5 o'clock shadow and then the goatee look. That's what I go for. But like after 3 days, it just starts itching. I don't know how I can get to the level you're at, man. Like,
I mean, it's mostly just letting it happen, and also like I don't trim it or anything. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it can crawl up my face as much as it wants until I look like a monkey. I'm fine with that. Like it's over here, it's pretty much up to here with some of the blonder hairs. So I mean, it's mostly just a matter of starting to let it happen and getting used to the feeling, and it'll stop itching so much when they get longer and they dangle more. Because the thing is, like when they start to grow out, they curl around and touch your face. But like once they start growing longer, they'll dangle down here instead of up here, and they'll touch your face less. Like, I barely feel it right now. That should answer anything.
Okay,
like, I gotta trim my mustache.
This is your fault.
It is what it is. Like, yo, you got to trim the mustache. Like, you have to. Like, the mustache has. I have to keep mine off my lip. Like this.
Well, you know, occasionally, and this might be gross to some people, but occasionally, like, I'll accidentally bite one of them. But that doesn't actually, like, most of the time I'll just fucking just sort of sort it out like that. That's enough.
Nah, see, like, I don't know, like, man, fucking, like, I ended up, like, because, like, mine, all right, hang on, wait, I'll fucking turn the camera on, fucking, like, mine doesn't fucking stand, like, fucking, like, my hair don't grow in on, like, fucking right here and shit, fucking just stays fucking empty, right? Yeah, so, like, when it comes down, like, right here, like, these just grow really long, and then they end up fucking, like, curling into my fucking mouth and shit.
Well, I'm similar. Here, a little peek behind the curtain over here, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I mostly just let it grow out and keep it sort of flecked off to the side. A lot of people, that's what they use oils for, is to make it grow in a specific pattern too. But I just sort of use my natural fucking funk to do that. And there's actually scientific studies out there that say if your hair is longer, it'll strengthen your immune system because your hair follicles will detect pathogens that might be approaching the surface of your skin and alert your immune system. So okay, that's interesting.
All right. So the beard talk out of the way. Thank you. There you go, Candid.
Yeah, I mean, like, anyway, think of it like a dog. If you want your dog to have a shiny coat, you feed it like eggs. I eat a shit ton of eggs.
Yeah. Fuck, it's the same with a dog. Like, fucking that and bacon grease and I mean, high animal fats will keep your hair in proper shape.
So, like, go keto or vegan. Like, honestly, anything but high carb, because carbs are very inflammatory and they fuck with every part of your body. Like, cut off the top of that food pyramid where the sugar is, and then just invert it, and you'll have a much better time. Like, take off the carbs almost entirely. and you'll be fine, because they're like these sugars and sweets and all that, and then there's like carbs, and then you're supposed to have like proteins and fats and about equal things like bunched up over here for no reason. And the reason that is because the US government, speaking of corporations, heavily subsidized grain, and they had to have something to do with all that fucking stupid ass grain. So they basically like created this artificial food chart not based on any science and said, here, do it fag. That's what they did.
I mean, like, I know they had massive amounts of corn and wheat subsidies, and I think actually a lot of that shit ended like fucking, I think, under Obama or Bush, one of the two.
The new pyramid is bad too.
Yeah,
all the pyramids are. I mean, it's a pyramid. Don't trust anything that looks like it could be a symbol for the Illuminati. It's bad.
I knew it.
it's the Illuminati folks. All right, they're out here spirit cooking aliens, the interdimensional space demons are out here spirit cooking small children.
It's interesting you should bring up spirit cooking, because Mariana Abramovich just recently started working with Microsoft for an augmented reality art installation.
Yeah, I saw that thing.
And then they immediately pulled down the video, made it private. I wonder why.
Public backlash, man. That's why.
But hey, if y'all want access to that file, feel free to join the Insane Asylum on Keybase and hit me up, because I posted all those files in there. They can't stop the signal.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, I have to ask you, man. So I've been running OBS is my new format. I went back to StreamYards because you said you can't use Discord. How exactly do you get banned from Discord, of all places?
Exposing pedophiles.
Okay, well, my buddy Cass Warfox, shout out there to Cass.
Yeah, man. Cass
he does
shit.
the same thing, right? And he's not banned.
Well, you should ask him about what happened in that server, because there were 0 rules broken, and I was the creator of my own server against pedophiles on Discord, and there were 0 Discord TOSs broken, and then they falsely accused me of inciting violence and making threatening statements to other users, and also inciting harassment off the platform. And like a bunch of stuff in this very specific email that wasn't true. And they did all that in order to muscle myself and a few other people who were very effective in this effort off their platform. And then after they did that, they also threatened a bunch of people who were in the server with bans. So a bunch of people who didn't do anything wrong, who didn't break the rules, were threatened with bans, and a bunch of people who didn't do anything wrong and didn't break the rules were outright banned for things that they didn't do, all because we were involved in this server where all we were doing was holding pedophiles accountable and trying to get them removed from social media sites.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing with you or arguing with you.
They do that.
Right there in that same business. Like, that's what he does.
Yeah, well, and you should talk to him, because he was in that server, and he was in another server after ours got banned, and helped us expose this pedo bunny named Bunny Riley, who still has a Twitter, by the way, Baby Bunny Rye, who went and decided that he was gonna not only hide that he was one of them in order to get into our server, because one of our rules was you couldn't be one or support it. But 2, like, be a mole to other pedo servers, which the pedo servers didn't get banned. But he ran his server, which was friendly to pedos, and he had a bunch of people in there, and one of them was Cass Warfox being a mole. And Cass did a little video recording of some of the conversations that were going on in there about me and about my server. And about all this stuff me and my people were doing, who we were called a hate group, by the way, not too long into doing what we did. And basically, after we got like this footage, we posted it. So he has the footage, he has the video, he has all the stuff that's necessary to tell you that my server was banned specifically because we were going after pedos. And not because we were, breaking any Discord terms of service or anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
Candid Lynn got a good point in the chat too. She says, I mean, you can just contact the FBI, police, and the Better Business Bureau. I feel where you are.
I'm anarchist. If you want to do that, you can. I'm not going to. I'm just going to say that Discord banned me for exposing pedos and let that be a mark against them on their public record.
That's fair enough. And no, I was just asking because I was like, wait a minute, like, how do you get banned from Discord? You know what I mean? Because initially that just sounds funny to me.
You know, it was fucking hilarious to me. I'll admit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, fucking, I know a few people who got banned from Discord, but like they just made up new fucking names and came back with other fucking names or whatever.
You know, and I've had requests to do that, but like I kind of don't want to patronize them. And you know, I would only really want to join other people's servers. Because let's say I build back up my presence, I put all my shit back out there. And they decide I'm a recidivist ban evader, and they just no, I'm good. I'll stick to Keybase. They have bigger file limits. They have encryption. They're not looking at your messages. You can detonate your messages irrevocably, and you can add additional security by PGP. And it also has identity verification, which Discord didn't. So you can just publicly say you're that on Keybase and be universally findable on the Keybase in the native application.
Oh, all right. I never heard of Keybase, and I think most individuals probably haven't either, right? Because
that's what I was thinking. Pinoid is like, right. I never heard of this place, right?
Keybase is based. Get on there.
Yeah, well, like, you know, I mean, we'll see about that, but let's take this kind of back to the conversation at hand, right? So, anarchist is more important than you raging against pedos. All right, and I think, hang on, here's kind of my issue, right? That I come down to with a lot of like anarchist mentalities is that we don't live in our anarchy, and we're never gonna live in anarchy because it doesn't work, right? Because like, people are dumb.
Okay, so people are dumb, so dumb that this system has been built. This entire statist infrastructure for millennia has been built on the backs of those quote dumb people, and with their compliance and support, and occasionally with the not so dumb people ruling over all of them, deciding how to best expand it in, like, you know, secret meetings like Bilderberg. But you know, these people are obviously just dumb. That's not the way it is. Yes, the vast majority of people are willfully ignorant, but the vast majority of people could be smart. And the vast majority of people have delegated responsibility for their wisdom to a third party, in this case, the state. It's not that anarchy is impossible, it's that it's probably not going to happen because people would rather delegate responsibility. And that's where I come in. I get to be the asshole and constantly badger people about the responsibilities they're delegating and tell them that they could have it better and be less oppressed if they didn't do that.
No. All right. So here's
so they're equally oppressed if they don't delegate responsibility. Okay, I'm very interested in hearing this.
All right, here's the problem that we run into, right? When you end up having a community that has wealth and things that you want to protect, right? Other individuals are going to want to come take that from you who live in other communities in other states.
There would be no guns in anarchy. Okay, gotcha.
I hear that there would be no guns in anarchy, but you always have larger states with more guns.
Dude, there would be guns in anarchy. I was being sarcastic.
Oh, I feel you. Right, I understand what you're saying, like, right, but like what I'm saying is there will be people with more guns, right?
There will always be people with more guns, so obviously government doesn't work.
Government does work because we have the most guns, or you have a mutually assured destructive mentality, or you
there would
have
be
to
a better
weigh out...
mutually assured destructive mentality if more people had access to more firearms.
Yes and no, right? Like, because you can't trust the average individual with a fucking machine gun.
But you can trust your government. Ooh, good.
No, I got you, right? But like, at least with the government, we have the opportunity to stand here and say who's in charge of the machine guns.
No, we don't. That's what the CIA does. The CIA gets to ship them all over the world, all these rebel groups. They get to ship them into inner cities so that they can prosecute firearms offenses, along with crack, by the way. They get to run all these secret programs like Operation Cyclone, arming the Mujahideen in order to fight those evil Ruskies. They get to do all of that, and they don't get to be accountable because they don't give a fuck what you think.
Yeah, look, all of us would agree with you that there's a lot of problems inside of large governments. And when governments get bigger, it becomes more of an issue, right? But the issue is that anarchy isn't the solution. All right. Because the average person, what's your IQ? Like what, 145, 148?
I think it's like 157 last time it was.
Right. Yeah. I'm saying, yeah, you're a highly intelligent individual, right? You're way closer to Einstein than you are the average person.
I don't care. That's okay. So that's one of those arguments. The average person doesn't need to be this philosophically inclined in order to be anarchist. They just need to not be a statist. They need to not seek that central solution. They need to not delegate responsibility. In anarchy, the systems and the structures would already be built so that these sorts of things would be easy to not delegate that responsibility. Right now, the structures that are built with the ease of access to that delegation, the ease of access to a centralized structure. And that's why people do it. It's not because they prefer it. It's not because they like the thought of being forced at the point of a gun to do what the government says. It's because it's convenient and they haven't switched plans.
Right, but the average individual will always do what's easiest.
Then I have to make anarchy easy. Anarchy is really easy. In fact, the statist bureaucracy is what's difficult. The statist constant layers of fleas upon fleas upon fleas. That is inefficient. That is complicated, and that is what's difficult. Not just doing it yourself and making sure you know how to do basic shit. Home economics, bring that back. Doing trades, bring that back. Bring back the Rust Belt. Make that the shiny metal belt again, because we're cleaning it up and we're making everybody engineers. That's a great idea. But this constant attachment to the easy bureaucracy, that's just another way to make shit more and more complicated. You think government makes things easy? I thought you were a paleocon.
No. The government sucks. I fucking hate the government. All right. And I hate the government because the government gets involved in my family and my business and my day-to-day life far too fucking often. And it holds individuals, communities, and everybody
in general. One time is
back.
Too often.
Oh, I fucking feel you. Well, yes and no. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I want to punch somebody in the face, and that's always going to be illegal. Like no matter what happens.
Have you gone to jail for that?
Yes.
Okay. So you could have held yourself responsible, you could have been accountable, and you weren't. And because of that, you had to be the victim of a bureaucracy and jailed by them.
Well, yeah, that tends to be how things operate. You know, there's a lot of, again,
was it easy in jail? Was it easy to go to jail? Was it easy to get back out of jail?
Well, yeah, you do your time and then they let you back out.
Was it easy to reintegrate to society?
No.
Okay, so you made it much harder for yourself by relying on the government to be your monitor of behavior.
Real quick, we got a super chat, €5. Every action around the state is anarchy, from John Smith. Thank you very much for the donation, sir. I appreciate it.
I also disagree with that. The state is fundamentally antithetical to anarchy by nature, and the whole idea that because states don't agree with each other, or because, you know, certain actors within the state don't follow the rubric, doesn't mean that the archonic structure doesn't exist. There is still archy.
All right, so here's my mentality, right? The beginnings of states, right? The ideology of a state, the ideology of why you have to have a government is because of the fact that the government does three things very well. One, it conducts warfare. It sets a market, and it polices. That's what government's there for. All right. No matter what you do in any community, more than like fucking 50 people, you're going to have this. Like, no matter what happens, you will have this. All right. They're going to stand here and you're going to end up banding together, and they're going to have individuals who you pay to stand here and fucking conduct warfare, to fucking stand here and protect your fucking household while you sleep or while you're out, you know, fucking taking care of business or whatever, making sure your mom and your fucking sister and your wife and your kids are all fucking cool. Right. And you're going to stand here. You're going to have somebody paid to do these type of things. And that's the very beginnings of government, no matter what happens. Right. Like, yo, you're going to fucking stand here and try and avoid a government, and then you're going to end up forming a fucking government any fucking way.
Okay. So anarchy could fail and therefore it will fail, or the state could fail and therefore it will fail. So the state is impossible and anarchy is impossible. We're in quite a conundrum here.
Well, the original Constitution and the Republic, the Republican mentality of the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights set it up so that we had the smallest amount of government that was possible.
No.
Yes.
No. And also, the people enslaved in plantations, the people constantly run off their tribal lands, all that stuff, those people didn't feel that government was very small, now did they?
Okay, so first off, slavery in the plantation system was forced upon America by the British when we were colonial.
It wasn't forced. You don't force people to work for you. That's not how slavery works. Slavery was a choice, just in the same way that the choice to not include a Bill of Rights originally was. They wanted a stronger government. The Bill of Rights limited it, but not clearly enough. Not to mention that, but the fact is that not all people could vote, not all people could participate. And when you're ending up with these systems, you're ending up with fundamental inequalities that require gigantic government to make them happen.
Well, most individuals couldn't vote.
You had anti-federalists actually have the Empire Strikes Back, right? It was the Jeffersonians, it was Madison, it was them coming in and going, we need the Bill of Rights, and that's why the 10th Amendment is there. All powers are delegated to the federal or the state government or delegated to the people respectively. I mean, right there, it's there in black and white. So I don't know how a representative republic is a bad option. And considering the necessary evil that government really is, because
the smallest governments always turn into the biggest. That's why when you have this government, everybody thinks it's benevolent. Nobody thinks it can happen here. And then when it happens here, they just say it's a fluke. We can change it. We can make it better. And then it keeps on happening. Incremental power increases keep happening. And people keep on fucking welded to that original mentality of, well, it was fine. It was great. It was all grand back then, ignoring the slavery, the bloodlust, the Salem witch trials, all these terrible things in America's history, not the least of which were mass human experimentations and exterminations.
But what history from Europe? I mean, come on.
And
I mean,
it wasn't forced. They could have made choices at any point, and they didn't.
Look. I know this ain't my stream, right? You know what I'm saying? This is Mad Dot. Can we do one at a time though? So I can understand what both of y'all are saying. Because I can't understand either one of y'all when you're both talking at the same time. You know what I mean? And I'm that's why I fall back as soon as you start talking. I'm gonna try and fall back and listen to what you're saying. Because it's important that we all grow as individuals in these conversations that we have. And learn new things and learn new mentalities and learn different ways of thinking about stuff. And I think that's the utmost and most important thing that we're out here doing that for everything. So everybody can stand here and have this. Insanity is free. Let me ask you a question. Do you have kids?
No. I'm waiting to have kids until I'm financially stable enough to make their lives better than mine was, so that they'll be better than I am.
I hear where you are, right? I got a slew of kids myself. So does Mad Dodge, right? And this is the issue that you run into, right? Is that you want your children to have a good life. You know what I'm saying?
So you're ignoring all the anarchist parents.
What anarchist parents?
Many. In fact, if you go to the unschooling hashtag, you'll find a fuck ton of them.
Oh, I hate public education and public schools. I think it's a fucking travesty. And I wish
thought we were the government. It's just us teaching us, yo.
It is. But the problem is the government
it's
is
not. It's them teaching my kids.
It's the government is run, or the fucking school system is run by single moms.
That's citation needed, and I don't care. My mother was a single mother, and she raised me. So it doesn't fucking matter. The point isn't that, and that doesn't if the school system is us, you're a single mother by that token.
No, the school system is run by fucking single mothers. All right. It's legitimately.
Okay, then the government is not us.
The government is us. All right. Because
then
some of us are single mothers. Some of us are single mothers.
I'm not a single mother.
No, but there's a lot of them out here. Something like 50%.
But I'm not them.
50, 60, 70%. I don't even know what the numbers are.
Well, maybe don't cite numbers if you don't know the number.
Well, no, just because you're not them though, does that really disenfranchise them? Because that's what we're kind of talking about here.
I'm not talking about disenfranchising the public school teachers. What?
He's saying repeal the 19th. That's his mantra.
Repeal the 19th.
These bitches.
Like, yeah, not everybody should have the right to vote. Like democracy's stupid.
Oh, man, then the government is super not us because you want a tiny group of people to have control over all of it rather than the Vox Populi.
I want the individuals who stand here and actually have a stake in the government to be the individuals who make the decisions on how the money is spent.
Then maybe we shouldn't have a government stealing money via taxation, which is theft, in order to make this system compulsory for all of us, regardless of whether or not it serves us. Maybe you're making an anarchist argument and aren't really a statist to begin with.
Oh, dude, believe we are all anarcho-capitalists at heart. Like, get nothing. Me and Mad Dodge are caps at heart, right? Like, we all love the mentality. We do.
Then maybe you should read Rothbard's "The Government Is Not Us" essay.
Yeah, well, have you read Judge Andrew Napolitano's?
Who's not an ANCAP? Go ahead.
Not an ANCAP, but the book, It's Dangerous to Be Right When the Government Is Wrong, is a damn good book.
I got to read that at some point. I haven't.
And it boils down to the constitutional argument, which I think can be our basis. Let's get back to the Constitution, and then we can argue everything else. You know what I mean?
What Constitution? The Federalist Constitution? Before the Bill of Amendments to the Constitution? Before the slaves were free? Well, put in prison, to be completely honest. But, before women could vote, before blacks could vote.
Most definitely before women could vote.
Then you're not an ANCAP.
This is the third time you brought up slavery. Do you believe that the Confederate statues should be taken down?
If it's a private effort and somebody buys the land, sure, it's their fucking property. I think the government is illegitimate and shouldn't own any land, which means that if we transfer it back to the people, they can do with those statues whatever they want. They can attach a fucking dildo to it for all I fucking care. I don't support the Confederate statues. I don't support the Yankee statues. I think all these reverences of statist bullshitters is fucked.
Okay, see, that's where you and I definitely differ. I'm joining the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I happen to actually like my history, my family history, and I happen to be a little bit proud of it. My family.
Why are you proud of what other people did?
I'm proud of the men who died.
And just like I'm proud to pass on my family name to my sons. I'm proud.
Why are you proud of what they did, though? You didn't do that. Pride should be individual.
Yeah, but you know what, man? Like, I literally met the men who came off the boat and who risked their lives and stood here and gave everything. And I fucking witnessed the individuals shed blood for me.
Risked their lives for what?
To allow me to have the opportunity to be here today having a conversation.
Where?
What do you mean, where?
Where did they fight?
Well, my grandfather was out here setting niggas on fire and shit.
No, I know where he's going. They fought in other countries.
No. I mean, like, when my grandfather was knocking off trucks and breaking motherfuckers' heads open and shit, and to collect money so that his family could fucking eat.
Okay, so you're justifying aggression now, or what?
Yeah,
what is
I have respect for the individuals who came before me, and I have respect for the individuals who stood here and went to jail for me, and shed blood for me and did what they had to do to make sure that my family ate and that I'm here. Yeah.
Why did they have to do that?
Because that's how it is that they had the ability to make money.
There were many ways to make money.
There was, but that's the way that he chose.
Why did he choose that?
Because he was a criminal from the start.
So you're justifying crime?
Sure, why not?
I like to get at the root of things. It's fun.
I get what you're saying, right? But the mentality is this: I have respect for the individuals who came before me.
I don't. Not all of them. I have respect for individuals, not a group of people you're calling individuals to get off that individualist vibe.
All right, I have respect for my family members who motherfucking risked everything for me to be here.
Okay, they can risk everything for bad causes.
Yo, but I'm not a bad cause, and neither are my children. Neither, you know what I'm saying, their children's children when they have them.
What did they do?
Yeah, okay. Here's the thing, though. Don't you feel a certain way about passing down your family name, like as a man?
You have no respect for like.
Don't you feel a certain way about passing down your family name? Because I do. I
in the
want
1950s
to continue.
In the presidency of Harding, Warren G. Harding, one of the primary things I appreciate about what he did was he had the balls to say, maybe we shouldn't intervene in the economy and we should let it repair itself. He advocated the absolute minimum interventionism and constantly got shit on it. He was called a king. He was called, lazy. He was called incoherent. He was called a long series of things. But then the roaring fucking 20s happened. So I don't like presidents. No. I don't like politicians. No. And I don't like the government. No. But do I hate my last name? No. Because Harding was a government reductionist. If my last name was Hitler, I'd probably get it changed.
Yeah, for sure. Because like fucking you wouldn't be able to walk around, and motherfuckers would be like, oh, he's fucking son of Hitler. They feel some sort of kind of way about that.
So maybe we should be attached to what somebody's actions actually were and address their individual actions on an individual basis rather than saying that because it's a name or my name, because of some illogical, emotional, or cultural, traditional appeal, that we should run with that. Maybe if we don't like our name, we should change it. But if we do like our name for reasonable reasons, then we should say that. Maybe the individual is what's important here, not this collectivist garbage.
Well, no, like here's the thing, right? Like I've ran into like a lot of you guys, like a lot of y'all, right? Like there's a lot of y'all individuals out here in particular. Like this is a lot of this. This is some Marxist nonsense, right?
Oh, Marx. Yeah. I just talked about Warren G. Harding, an anti-interventionist
who
was called an oligarch, and you're comparing what I just said to Marx. Ooh, this has got to be good. Why don't you quote something Marx said that at all reflects anything that I've said today?
Your IQ is 158. You can hold two separate mentalities in your head at one time.
It doesn't matter. What we're talking about is what I said. You said y'all, yes. And you compared me to Marxist. Quote Marx on something that sounds similar to what I said, huh? Because he wasn't an individualist. He was all about preserving some sort of culture. He just didn't like the culture that existed.
Yes, right. And you hate your own culture.
I hate all cultures. I hate everyone. I'm a pessimistic, cynical, dark cloud over everyone. I'm a terrible person.
I'm not saying you're a terrible person. I'm saying that mentality.
I'm cutting to the chase. I don't give a fuck.
Right, yo.
I say it all the time.
No. All right, you have to have some type of culture that glues your society together as a whole. You can't even have anarchy without having a basic societal model.
There you go.
So
we got to build a basic social structure for an anarchonic mentality. Then, once this festers in the group for a bit and people start taking responsibility for their own shit, we can switch societies.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. But standing here not fucking having respect for each other because you have no respect for yourselves or as a people.
I have respect for individuals.
Again, why would you fight for your neighbor's backyard if you don't give a fuck about him?
What? Okay, so let me be very specific. I live in sort of urban/suburban territory here.
Okay.
I live in Spokane, Washington. I look around and I see reasonable people for the most part. They keep to themselves for the most part. And when they do talk to me, we have reasonably pleasant conversations. And my neighbors shout me out when I'm working out in the backyard because I look insane and they praise my dedication. But to be very specific, if I saw them doing something with which I disagreed, I wouldn't be fighting for their fucking backyard. You know what the backyard I'd be fighting for would be? It'd be my backyard back at home. It'd be my backyard where I come from, my family who I know isn't that unethical. I wouldn't be fighting for all people. I know some people who I would hope their backyard got torched during whatever revolution happened. I'm talking about individualism. I'm not saying that I have nothing to fight for. I'm not saying I have nothing to respect. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. I respect greatly individuals and their good accomplishments on an individual level, and I will support them and fight for them on an individual level. I will not fight for a amorphous group of, fucking howling jackals chomping at the bit for their democracy or their republic or their fascism or their totalitarian communism. I'm not here about that. I'm here for individuals who I know are good people, and there are a lot of them. So, by that token, I can respect people. I can respect people's rights, and I can respect some sort of culture as long as that culture respects rights. This one doesn't. This one has a long track record of fucking over people's rights. You want to talk about the Bill of Rights, the Constitution? If we're bringing it back down to that level, his name was Duncan motherfucking Lemp. He was killed in his house, likely while he was asleep. His girlfriend was shot too. Why? Because he had guns when the state said he shouldn't. Her name was Breonna Taylor. She was killed as an EMT in her own fucking home, and she was on the front lines about this COVID war. All these victims of the state, Kelly Thomas beaten to death while he was screaming for his mother and father over fucking stolen mail. Eric Garner choked out for selling Lucy's. Philando Castile gunned down in his car. Daniel Shaver gunned down in a fucking hotel hallway. There are so many examples of this culture, fucked up attachment to delegating responsibility. And my point isn't that we shouldn't respect anyone. My point isn't that we shouldn't be reasonable to anyone or fight for anyone. My point is fight for the people you know, not some amorphous us.
Well, no, and you're not even getting to the major two, Waco and Ruby Ridge, right?
Of course. I mean, I could have gotten into those. I could have gotten into the Tuskegee syphilis experiment or MK Ultra. I could have gotten into a whole bunch of shit. You want to go down that road? We can talk about how the U.S. government has a thin veneer of democracy, a thin veneer of the republic over a gigantic fascist regime that's been festering from the start.
Well, no, and let's walk it back a little bit, though, because what we were talking about before we came on air, we were talking about the move from ANCAP over towards, like, where I'm more now. I'm more conservative. I'm more, paleo-conservative. I do believe, okay, I don't want to pay for the roads. I don't want to pay taxes. I believe in a tariff, a reasonable, responsible tariff to fund the federal government. That's it. I believe
the federal government. Go ahead.
Well, abolish the federal government. We need some sort of cohesion here, or because the rest of the world will come take us out. That's why
the rest of the world doesn't have a government this big. They're doing fine.
Candid, just admit it. You're a sovereign citizen, Mad Dodge.
The Chinese government is arguably bigger than ours.
Yes, it is, and it's the largest economy now.
Yeah, as of 2 months ago.
Yes. How do you like that? But there are plenty of much smaller nations that are doing fine without a federal government.
Well, who? Where? All right.
Most of
Holland?
them.
No. What?
Most of them have no federal government. Most of them aren't federal. Yeah.
What do you mean
federal governments are the exception to the rule, and they're giant. That's why they get to participate in the global hegemony.
Okay, well, what countries don't have a federal government? Because you look at even at Indonesia, and they have a federal government. I mean, what are you talking about here? I'm actually a little bit confused.
I mean, what's to be confused about?
Yeah, is federal a word that, like, has a different definition than what we think it does?
All right. How many countries do not? And by the way, Quora for some reason does not work on my browser, so I'm just gonna list the first 15 of them that are on this list. But this is a complete list of countries that don't have federal states, which are unitary. There's Argentina, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Brazil, Canada, Comoros, Ethiopia, Germany, India, Iraq, Malaysia, Mexico, Micronesia, Nepal, Nigeria, Pakistan, and something more below it. There are tons of them. And those don't have a federal government, and they're still somehow not being completely overtaken by the U.S., who has a shit ton of guns, by the way, if you want to go that route.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing. I think what you're confusing is like, especially with like Australia and stuff, they're a Commonwealth. Therefore, the definition wouldn't be federal, but it pretty much is a federal system. So
no,
if
it's not. It's under the crown
government. Yeah, it is. It's just like Great Britain. It's a constitutional monarchy, but it's still a federal system.
Okay. Well, you can say that, and I can talk about how all the power the crown has disagrees with you. It's a veneer, yo. It's one of the lies of the state. There are lies, damned lies, statistics, and government statements.
All right, so like I'm sitting here reading like fucking what is an actual federal government, right? And the definition of a federal government is a government that shares power with the states.
Mm-hmm.
So
and not all governments have nation states. Or not all governments have states to begin with.
Wait, in other words, these other fucking countries don't have states. They just have one government that runs the entire fucking country.
And they're almost, see, that's the thing. You want to get into that territory. That's exactly where I was leading. The United States is a giant clusterfuck of poorly drawn borders and boundaries that are basically imaginary and meaningless. And when that comes out, when you start to realize that, all these little places, those could be countries. Those are countries by their own right. That's the reason California constantly talks about rustling and breaking up, because they have enough people in there to break off into their own territory. That could be done without a Fed. That's the reason the Civil War happened, Mr. Confederate, because there were certain elements of the U.S. who argued that they shouldn't be a part of the broader country. I mean, let's be specific and real here. You want that. So if we're talking about this, if we're talking about the union, we don't need a federal government. The federal government gets in the way.
All right, I would absolutely, like, in my mentality, we would only have states governments, right? That was my mentality, right?
I thought we needed cohesion. I thought we were the federal government.
Well, we are the federal government.
I'm not. You're not. Mad Doge isn't.
Do you pay taxes?
I can donate to a church. It doesn't mean I'm the pastor.
No, but I'm saying no. But you mean you're a fucking congregant?
Actually, though, Pinoid, that was pretty good. You got credit.
Yeah, but it still means you're a congregant.
It doesn't mean I'm part of the church. They could excommunicate me. They could kick me out.
Yeah, but then you would stop fucking donating.
Maybe. Who says I'm not just a pay pig?
Like, yo,
I mean, a lot of these evangelicals, they're practically Findommers. They like, especially that guy who had that challenge recently. Give your stimulus check to a local church, especially mine.
Right? Yeah, but if the U.S. kicked you out of the fucking country, you would no longer pay U.S. taxes.
Yeah, I would. I would be a non-resident alien if I did any business in the U.S. You don't know how tax code works.
Yeah, again, like, if they threw you out of the country, right, you legitimately would no longer have to pay U.S. fucking income taxes. You would pay taxes to wherever the hell you lived,
unless I still wanted to do business there, in which case I would pay non-resident alien taxes.
Pinoid, I don't even think you know what you just touched upon, because this is actually a big issue. The United States can just illegitimately kick me out of the country. They could say, yo, Chris, you're a piece of shit. Get the fuck out. We don't want you here no more. I don't have another country to go to. What do I do?
See, that's the problem. Hey, by the way, just in case we ever get to anarchists, why don't you move to Somalia or some similar argument? That's where it's going to go, right? Where can we go? Go ahead, though.
Well, no, that was pretty much it. Like, where do you go? You're done. You have no recourse. You're kicked out, and you have no country that will let you land there.
Also,
Great Britain is not.
they're the ones who suck. Why should I leave?
Yo, Chris, come stay in Buckingham Palace. You're cool. It's not gonna happen.
Maybe Russia would let you stay.
Yeah, I don't have any secret info for him.
Right. I mean,
I may or may not. I plead the fifth.
Like I would absolutely agree. You know what I mean? That like if I think that'd be a better way of doing things. Like if you got convicted of a crime, you just kick you the fuck out. Like I think that'd be much better.
So you just authorized fascism. You just authorized Obama's particular strain of fascism, where Obama said that anybody who expresses certain tyrannical elements should have their citizenship revoked. You just supported Obama. I didn't know you were a Democrat.
No, I was thinking more like rapists, murderers, and like fucking thieves. You know, individuals.
Well, I didn't know you were the one who got to determine the exceptions here.
Well, no. I'm saying like, yo, that's what all laws should be. Is like if you violate somebody else's fucking rights. You know, I mean, that's
then you should be immediately removed. So that means that if you're later found innocent, but you're dead in a ditch in Somalia because that's where they shipped you, you're just a casualty. No due process, no nothing, no reasonable suspicion, no like housing you anywhere, no giving you a chance to redeem or go to appeals. You're just out because this is fascism, and I guess Pianoid's fascism is this.
Well, what is the alternative? What is the alternative we have now? Oh, yeah, that's right. You go to federal, fucking get raped in the ass prison.
No, it's cool though.
Okay.
It's cool. Nationalist.
Like compared to what we have now, I think it'd be better off. You know what I'm saying? Like throw that mother
dead in a ditch. Okay.
Out.
No, it's cool though. Yorkie said I can crash at his place when Trump decides to ban me from America. So that's cool. I hope you got room for my wife and 6 kids. We're just gonna be crashing on the floor, homie.
Yeah, but legit though.
No, actually, they would just ban me, huh? The rest of the
they would strip you from your family. Your kids are going to CPS, homie.
Yeah, goddamn. And you don't want to get me started on that road, all right?
Maybe this is another reason to be anarchist.
Right. Like, yo, look, again, anarchy doesn't work with a mass population.
Statism doesn't work with a mass population.
Statism doesn't work as long as you have universal suffrage.
Oh, fuck you. Okay? If you're going to say the government is us, and then say a certain sector of the population shouldn't be able to participate in governmental decisions, you're just a fascist. That's it. You're not a paleocon either.
No, I'm a Republican.
That's not how republics work. Republics divide representation based on districts, not based on sex.
It's not just sex, dude. It's fucking based on per capita income, whether or not you pay any fucking federal taxes. If you pay federal,
okay, so only rich males should be able to. So you really do want to go back to the Constitution.
Only individuals who pay taxes. If you pay taxes, you get to vote. If you suck off the fucking government, you don't get to vote for more free shit from the government.
There is no such thing as a free lunch. If you don't like free shit being taken from you, then be an anarchist.
No, because you know what? Because fucking anarchy doesn't work either.
Statism doesn't work either.
Yo, again, if you don't have universal suffrage, fucking statism is fucking fine.
Statism is fine if it's totalitarian.
Yo, again, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it is better off if you don't have universal suffrage. Literally, democracy is the god who failed.
Yet you're not quoting Hoppe here because he disagrees with your ideas too.
I don't fucking care about Hoppe. Fuck that nigga.
Then maybe don't cite his book title.
Again, I'm hungry. Oh fuck! I'll be back.
Well, that was easy.
Okay. Well then, yeah. All right, so on the move from anarchy towards paleoconservatism, I understand your frustration with the state. I get it, but don't you think we need some kind of structure? Because, as John Adams said, men are not angels.
What's a structure?
Something to put a limit on what you do, because if there is no limit, people are just going to while out, man. You've seen it before.
Who decides on the limits?
Well, that's where the real issue boils down to, right? Who sets the limits?
So it's less about the structure and more about the runners, right?
No, we choose who sets the limits. That's why it's a representative.
I don't choose who sets the limits.
Do you vote?
First off, no. And second off, even if I did, voting is regularly proven to exclude the voice of the minority and also to exclude the voice of the majority when convenient, which is why people who win popular still don't get it.
I do not believe in the popular vote. I believe in the representative republic. I believe in
and there you go.
Imperial College, because the fact that Oregon has a lesser population than Los Angeles, and much less California, does not mean California should have more representation than I do.
Okay, so why shouldn't they have more representation when they have more people? I thought the government was us.
They shouldn't, because then you get one state completely controlling the narrative, and you have a state that wants to ban plastic bags and straws. Do you really want that in Texas, sir?
I don't want a federal government. I didn't want the federal government to begin with. So why do we have this federal government who gets to decide what states have to do, what other states say they have to do? Huh?
The government is here to fucking conduct warfare and to set the market. That's what that's all it's supposed to do.
See, here's a point that I wrote down on my fucking steno pad here. The state causes unnecessary war, interferes with the markets, and causes lots of unnecessary crime to justify their police force. That's like CIA crack. It's like all the violence they initiated. It's all these counter revolutions where they've instigated things with local people to cause gang wars. It's all these like gun infringements where they take our guns. You know, I got my gun shirt on here today. I'm a pro-gun person, but I'm more pro-government gun than the federal government. I'm more pro-gun than the state governments, and I'm more pro-gun than all of them because I think the average person should have arms commensurate with the state. But the state disagrees, so they constantly plant guns so that they can have something to fight. The state creates problems, they promote the reaction, and then they have a solution pre-built. This is David Icke territory here. So if you don't like your conspiracies, you invited on the wrong person. But the point is that the state decides arbitrarily who gets what. The state decides arbitrarily what crime is, what gets allowed, what doesn't get allowed, what the markets are allowed to do, which countries should get invaded next for, quote, freedom, and, you know, how much resources to extract from those countries. The state makes all these arbitrary choices because they're not us, because they're not accountable, because they got black budgets. Where do you think that $23.2 trillion went when the Pentagon's budget analyst office was destroyed on 9/11? It went to that war you like so much that the state should be able to authorize. War is the health of the state. That is fucking...
All right. All right. Hang on. Yo, look. See, here's the problem. Like, you rattle off like 85 things, right? And I want to respond to like some of them.
You rattle off things too.
I know, but I try to keep it remotely short so you can have a conversation.
This was short. I mean? This was like 3 paragraphs on paper.
Well, I feel you, but like
what I write. I wrote 6,700 words the other day, and almost nobody read it.
Oh, dude, fucking post like I wish you had a Discord. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking post. I'd say post it on my Discord. We'd read it.
You should get a Keybase. That's a chat where you can say spicier things without Discord banning you.
Yeah. Dude, I've never had anything that Discord ever fucked with me about, to be honest with you. But anyway,
I didn't until I did. So sort of like the government, you know, nobody has a problem with the government until they finally have a problem with the government.
All right, so like I want to address a couple things. One is like, I agree with you that like the government is an issue, right? And a strong like. I don't like the size of government in general. I want the government to do a certain number of things right? Conduct warfare, again, like fucking set the market, and internal policing between states, between like having arbitration for fucking interstate commerce, things of this nature. And that's the difference between, that's why we have a federal government, because we have states that are supposed to have rights to protect you from the federal government, right? That way, like, you have more of a community decision about what goes on in your local representative area, instead of having like one large government over the United States that would rule over places like New York and Idaho and Minnesota, right? You have different states that would be able to, go and represent themselves, or be able to make laws that would benefit the individuals who live and grow corn versus individuals who make money off of Wall Street, or people who make money off of steel.
Sounds like syndicalism.
Okay. Right. So like, yo, look, man, I'm not up to date with all the terms.
Syndicalism has been around longer than anarcho-capitalism.
I believe it. Right. Yeah, and I've heard these terms brought up before, and I really haven't had an opportunity to really look things up because I'm stuck trying to follow the news and stay up to date on economic mentalities and what's going on in the markets. Because that's what I do on my channel, is economics for the most part. And
well, I can understand the economic angle, especially since I also cover that on my channel. I have an entire video on how the dollar is going to default based on its faulty roots. So anybody who wants to check that out can check me out at Jeremiah Talks. But just saying, you might not want to say anarchy won't work if you don't know the schools of anarchy and you don't know whether or not they can work.
Anarchy, you know what I'm saying, is okay. Anarchy is for big-brained individuals. All right, it's for people,
or maybe it's for people who are too small-brained to want to analyze the bureaucracy and have all of the tiny little minutiae understood. Maybe it's for everyone. Maybe it doesn't matter how smart you are, you can benefit from a decentralized structure.
Again, like, I get back to, I don't like the size of the federal government. I do not enjoy it at all. And the reasons why are, here's the other point of this. This is why, like, I get off on a tangent on one thing, and like, I want to address like all the stuff you said, because like, it's important to stand here and have these conversations. Again, like, the whole mentality of like, you're more pro-gun than the government is, right? Yeah. Like, fucking, of course you are, because like, 53% of the voting public are female.
Oh God. Okay, here we go again. You want to talk about like that sort of thing? Let's talk about the fact that quote 50% of the voting public are female.
53.
53. Okay, 53. Let's talk about the fact that that's almost equal to begin with, and then let's talk about the fact that it's that much because you are a member of the sect who doesn't vote as much. So first off, that means if you chose to engage the male base more, those male bases would be more enfranchised. And if voting works, which I don't think it does, if males started to vote more in a higher percentage, they would be better represented, and you would stop being able to make the point that women control the system, because it's a stupid point and it doesn't lead anywhere.
Well, no, it leads everywhere, and that's not the issue with it. The issue is, 7% of the motherfucking United States fucking male population are non-voting felons.
Okay.
Like, individuals are disenfranchised in the system. Like, males
and men
are literally
made those laws.
Again, like, fucking, because women fucking vote.
I know Arpaio has big tits, but let's not call everybody who talks about prisoning and keeping people disenfranchised if they commit crime. I agree with Arpaio. Women, we should
enforce our borders.
You agree with the guy who supports what you say you hate? You're a perfect statist.
No. Fucking like, look, it's really simple. All right,
he doesn't want felons voting.
That's dumb. But all right,
then you don't agree with Arpaio.
I agree with Arpaio that we should fucking take Mexicans and put them inside a fucking tent in the desert until they go the fuck home. You're fucking right.
So you agree with him by default because you agree with him on single issue. You're a single issue voter. You're no better than women.
Look, why? Because I want our fucking wages to go to fuck up? Because I want to control how many individuals fucking come into the country? I'm a many issue voter. I have a lot of issues. But
okay, then why did you just say you agreed with Arpaio when I was talking about felons? I'm staying to your subject. You're tangenting.
Well, because Arpaio isn't known for fucking his stance
Yes, he
on fucking
is.
felon voting. He's known for motherfucking standing here having Mexicans inside a tent.
He's known for a ton of things.
That's what
him.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio is known literally only for fucking standing here fucking locking up Mexicans. That's he's known
not
for.
True. In fact, he's a very well-known tyrant in Arizona. Plenty of people are against him. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know why they're against him too?
Okay, so you wanted Mad to talk, but now you're not going to let him talk.
Left-leaning tendencies are going to show drastically. Okay, you're going to lock up people for fucking shoplifting and drunk driving, and then put them in fucking tents in 130-degree weather with nothing but a goddamn fan, and you get fucking bologna sandwiches and water every day, day in and day out. That sounds like cruel and unusual punishment to me, sir.
The Geneva Convention doesn't exist. He is a statist.
That sounds like a Mexican prison to me. Actually, better conditions than a Mexican prison.
So because they do it, it's okay that we do it. Fantastic. Really good stuff. It can't happen here, but when it does happen here, it's fine because they do it.
They can be free men in their own country.
No, they can't. Nobody's free in any country.
Again, they can have all the rights that everybody else has in their fucking country if they stay the fuck home.
These rights were inalienable.
I don't give a fuck about goddamn Mexican rights in America.
I thought these rights were inalienable.
For citizens.
No, that's not what inalienable means.
For citizens.
Yeah,
I thought they were given to all humans by God. All men were created equal, inalienable. I thought you were sucking off the Declaration and the Constitution. Where's your federalism, yo?
Well, no, and this is
the Declaration doesn't apply to fucking Somalis.
Rights come from
inalienable applies to everyone. God applies to everyone. You lose. What, Matt?
Your rights come from your humanity. They come from God, if you believe in God, or just by the very fact that you are human. They come from your humanity. They are natural, God-given rights. Okay, that's it.
No, they only apply if you are born on our dirt. Our dirt we arbitrarily drew a line on because those are what rights are, not rights inalienable, not rights given by the nature of our humanity, but rights given by government. Government can give us any rights they want and take them away at will.
Do your rights apply in Canada?
Yes. The Canadian government can choose to not respect your rights, but they still apply.
They don't apply.
They don't apply because they're inalienable. Unless you're calling the founders liars. Why are you doing that now? I thought you loved them. I thought we were the government.
Are we living in gumdrop land here, motherfucker? We're living in the real world again.
Oh, so now you want to be realistic. The real world doesn't respect your rights. That's why Arpaio gets to exist. Don't accuse me of being idealistic, Mister. I'm going to stick to the Constitution, and everything's going to be fine.
Are we not having this conversation right now? I can call you a faggot at the moment.
I'm not having this conversation right now. Absolutely not. This is all a hallucination.
Right. I'm saying I can call you a faggot right now. If we were in Canada, I can go to jail for hate speech.
I don't care. That doesn't mean that your rights don't exist there. It means that Canadians don't necessarily respect your rights.
They don't respect your rights.
Oh, so now we're on the same page. Your rights still exist even if you're in another country. Thank you.
The rights only apply to Americans. Your American rights.
That's not how inalienable rights work. And literally in the word, it says inalienable.
It is too. You don't get the same.
That's not how inalienable works.
Do non-citizens get the vote?
No,
I don't care. That's not what inalienable means.
California, they do, and dead people vote in Chicago. So you don't want to go down this road.
I mean, like you were a citizen in Chicago at one point. If you're dead now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. But come on, do we really want to?
Inalienable rights are either inalienable or they don't exist.
No, all right.
Yes,
because, you can't claim American rights in fucking Taiwan. All right,
you can, and it's not American. It's inalienable.
I would totally they arrest me for some bullshit. I'm like, hey, I'm an American. Fuck you. Call Trump right now. Out this bitch.
He did get one of them Ball brothers off some shit over in China one time.
I'm just waiting for him to say that the Declaration of Independence doesn't matter anymore. I thought we were going back to roots here. Come on, baby, let's go back to roots. Let's get that slavery rigged back up. Let's get those women back in servitude. Let's go back to the good old days. But wait, shit, inalienable rights. Let's just tick that off. Let's just tick off the Bill of Rights and the fact that all these things were said to apply to all men equally. Let's just tick off the fact that in order to import people at all to begin with, in order to get immigrants at all to begin with, their rights had to be respected here first. Ooh, it's almost like you're being massively inconsistent because you don't like the fact that you're being held accountable to your own fucking standards.
No, I want to go backwards here. You told me I can have my plantation home back. Like I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? Like I get my plantation back. Sign me up.
He said I'm pro-slavery. And here's the thing, I'm anti-slavery. That's reason. That's one of the reasons. I fucking hate.
Why those people didn't come from America?
YouTube.
Those people don't have American rights.
No, I just gotta make it clear. YouTube, it was a joke. All right, but no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if we can argue our way back to the states actually having rights and actually being,
they don't. The individual has rights.
Then we can continue the argument from there. We need a basis for comparison. We need to go back to what we started with and then argue our way down. Okay, we need to know our own limitations here as libertarians. As you sound like more of an anarchist, which anarchy in general is a phase. It's a phase.
Then the state is a phase.
One government to another.
Then the state is a phase.
Like, yeah.
Then the state is a phase. The state is a phase to anarchy, and anarchy is a phase to the state. Really good stuff. We're in a cycle. People are bad, so we need a government made up of people are bad, so we need a government made up of.
Sir, I'm not trying to be
Berto, you side with me on a lot of shit. Shut the fuck
up. Here's the thing. If you want to look at a case comparison of anarchy, look at Russia at the transition from the Tsar to communism.
Okay, so we're talking about the anarchists that make your particular point. I thought you guys said you were ANCAPs at heart. I thought you guys embraced an alternative form. I thought you guys said that you read Rothbard and knew about this stuff before sliding to paleoconservatism. If that's the case, then you can know for damn well sure that anarchy not only can work, but it doesn't have to work that specific way, which means you have to admit that there are many ways to skin this proverbial cat. And maybe there's lots and lots of options here, and one of them could work. And we should let them compete to see if anarchy really can work rather than saying it can't work before testing and being unscientific in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see what you're saying here. But your argument is coming across like a communist argument. And listen to me. Hear me out before you freak out. Hear me out.
I mean, I don't care if you call me a communist. I've been called one many times.
Will say we have not tried the correct form of communism. Isn't that what you're saying about anarchy?
First off, a lot of the reasons they say that is because they claim that the transitional state period was a corruption of the original modus. I can actually sort of see where they're coming from in that regard. But let me be extremely fucking specific. Are you a Nazi? Either of you?
No, I'm not a Nazi.
Okay, so you're not a Nazi, and that means that you're choosing one form of government over another. And you're saying that the reason your government is better than the government you're choosing it over, I don't know if I got the hand position right. I'm not paying fucking close attention there. But the reason you chose your government over the other is because of certain superiorities. Now, if you see those superiorities, it's because they've been allowed to compete and because you've made a choice based on those things. That is, unless you're just a mindless drone. I'm going to give you the, sort of respect here to say that you're not a mindless drone, even though some of the stuff you've been saying, both of you, has been kind of drony. But beyond that point, if we're talking specifically about comparative anarchy and saying it, quote, hasn't been tried, it really fucking hasn't. Most forms of anarchy have not seen their day in the proverbial sun, and I have no problem saying that, including mine, which is pretty much new. So I have no problem telling you that what I want has not been tried yet. It hasn't been tried yet. And the fact is, competition breeds excellence. It's the meritocratic structure on its face. And if you deny anarchists the ability to compete, it's because you're afraid of what they might bring to the table and the effect it might have on the structure of your chosen system.
Yo, what up, Yorkie?
Yeah, I was gonna say hi to Yorkie, and then Pinoid, you've been chomping at the bit here, man. Go ahead and respond.
All right. Well, like, okay, see, like, here's the thing, right? Like, see, I hate the fact that, like, I'm coming off like I'm arguing for the current state, right? And because I fucking hate it and I fucking rail against it all day long.
I thought you were the government, though.
Yo, I feel you, right? Like, the thing again. All right. Let me
just say I'm not the government. It'll be fine.
No. That's not it. Like, yo, we are the government because our society. No, you're not. Our society at current is what we fucking get.
No, not if you don't want it. War is over if you want it. The state is over if you want it. You could choose, just as you chose this government over Hitler. You can choose.
All right, son. Do me a favor.
Anarchy over this government.
You're in Spokane. I'm in PA. Meet me in Michigan. We're gonna arm up, and me and you by ourselves are gonna fucking go take over the government.
Okay, no, because like, I'm already forming my coalitions, and because those coalitions are better equipped to deal with anarchist futures.
Right, like, yo, again, you know what I'm saying? Like, your coalitions, you know what I'm saying, that may or may not fight, and whatever the case might be, we're not changing.
Your 3%ers, which are bending over right now for Trump.
Right, yo, we're not gonna stand here and fucking change things at the second. All right, things have to collapse, and then we're gonna get more towards your mentality. Like, I like your mentality, I do. Believe me, I want to move.
I'm evil. Nobody's supposed to like me.
No. I want to move way closer to what you want. All right, legit. Then you fucking really understand. I'm an Appalachian. All right, I grew up. I was born on the side of a fucking mountain. All right, in a fucking trail. I took my first shit in an outhouse.
So I took
my first steps chasing chickens and shit. Right, I got you. Like, yo, I know all about the story as well. Okay, I covered it fucking yesterday. You know what I mean? And like, fucking, there was another one too. There was a 62-year-old man just fucking shot under the red flag laws in Maryland as well. Mm-hmm. Just happened like last fucking weekend. I got you. Believe me, I fucking hate the state as much as anybody else does.
So you hate yourself?
Yes. All right. I do. I absolutely. There's parts of me that I fucking can't stand. All right. I created.
You're not the government. I just want to get that out there. You're not the government.
I absolutely am the government. All right.
No, you're not.
Like, believe me, I fucking get in where I fit in. All right. And I fucking stood here and took an advantage of this goddamn fucking state that we're in. Huh?
You're a pro, just like all of us.
Yeah, we're all nothing when it comes down to it. But the truth is that our society begets what the fuck we have in government right now.
Okay, so our society can beget anarchy, and anarchy isn't impossible.
Anarchy isn't possible because individuals aren't willing to accept responsibility for themselves.
I am. I'm an individual. I'm not the government, and I'm willing to accept responsibility.
One of a very, very few.
You just said individuals can't. I am.
No. I said individuals won't. All right.
I do.
The vast majority of society is not going to accept responsibility for themselves.
It doesn't matter. I do. You said individuals, not society.
Okay. All right. Look, man, stop arguing my words and understand them all fucking soul of what I'm saying. The vast majority of people are not going to accept responsibility for themselves.
Yet, and probably you're right. Probably they never will. But
I know.
That's because I'm a pessimist and a cynic. I could be wrong. Hell, I'm also a solipsist. I don't possibly exist. There's a possible reality where I'm a brain in a jar or a point in a sim, and I don't actually exist. This could all be fake. Phantom limb syndrome pulls your reality from your sensory organs. And realistically speaking, all this could be a sim. All this could be an illusion. I could be wrong.
But you know what else? Matrix,
but you know what else?
We've got full Alex Jones.
But you know what else? We're talking about potentials here. And while I acknowledge that the game is rigged, it's like what Heinlein said. Certainly the game is rigged. Don't let that stop you. If you don't bet, you can't win. I'm betting. I'm putting all my fucking cards on the anarchy table.
So how did that free state movement go?
That wasn't anarchy. I always mock them because the idea of a free state is itself oxymoronic.
Well,
Okay,
again, they wanted to move towards your mentality.
Real quick, Pinoy, there's a question from the chat. Mitch the Ripper, a friend of the channel. He says,
Yo, stop being dumb.
Represent all anarchists. So, are you taking a collective?
What? I never claimed to represent all anything. I represent me. What? Where do you get that?
Okay,
Quote me.
Right. He's an individualist, man. Like he's not. He's about him.
Okay,
like,
that was the collective for me. Just so you know,
he never used the collective we, nigga. He never did. I'll defend him on that shit. Fuck that. York, you had some shit to say, nigga. What up?
Well, I guess it was more of a if something came up that I could actually argue with. But what I was wanting to ask an ANCAP directly is, how would you guys stop yourself from eventually becoming corrupt and getting some form of government? Because that will happen eventually. That's just human nature.
Well, first off, welcome. Second off, I'm an insane asshole, and I'm pretty much not an ANCAP. I'm anarchist in general. I'd be fine with any of a variety of systems that might come out in a stateless society, as long as it's voluntary, as long as it's not forced, as long as it's not aggressively forced. There's defensive force, but that's another subject. But, just to get it out there, I don't necessarily come from an ANCAP exclusive angle. I can use what they're saying because I'm talking to two people who claim to be ANCAPs at heart, despite one of them being a pro-state person who says he's the government, which directly contradicts a lot of ANCAP thought. But, all that aside, I'm not necessarily an ANCAP representative, although I do know a significant amount about the Austrian theories that associate with ANCAPs and libertarianism in general. Both American libertarianism, which is more rightist, and the French libertarianism, which was more socialist. The general idea would be that, first off, again, the thing that was described earlier as a cycle, not a straight line. If anarchy is a transition period to a state, then anarchy is a transition from the state as well, which means that the state is a transition to anarchy. It's a cycle. We go from the state to, fucking reverse image here. The state to anarchy to a state. It's not a straight line, which means that the state is a transition period in and of itself. How do you prevent people from doing, anarchy as a state? Well, you enact highly centralized authoritarian control measures to prevent them from being free. How do you prevent anarchists from forming a state? You form such an overwhelmingly good stateless society, one with so much freedom and prosperity that it prolongs the period in which people isolate that power in the hands of the few so that they can be that government that they were long before. The longest peace possible in an anarchist society would be one wrought from competition from various schools of anarchy, and it would be one wrought from variable definitions of certain things, a dialogue between people, market competition, communal accessibility, agorist, anti-corporate mentality, ANCAP, HOAs, and fucking rights defense institutions, a long series of things. And it would all be decentralized. There would be pockets of certain anarchies, or it wouldn't be real anarchy. Anarchy can't be a fully federated system where everybody has to isolate their power to that central mechanism. This is statism. So, being completely specific, I don't know how anarchy would fully function because we haven't seen that market competition yet. We haven't seen the massive competition for anarchy that we have for the state. The state has had so many forms of statism compete to get you to where you are today in Britain and to get us to where we are today in the US. And variably speaking, we need more competition. We need more allowances for that competition. But largely, the prosperity that would form in an anarchist society that was run well, which I make no illusions that it would guaranteeably run well. because I'm not a psychic and I don't know the future, despite being able to accurately predict a whole lot of things on statism. You know, follow me on Twitter for all my stupid, insane predictions. But the whole thing here is allowing anarchy to start by not suppressing it with the state, and then allowing anarchy to compete in terms of the schools of anarchy. And that competition would necessarily bring about a society that people would probably want to stick with because they were vested interested, and because the common person would have to be completely unschooled in order to get to the anarchist stage to begin with. There would have to be a mass social shift of consciousness to get there. And because of that mass shift of social consciousness, there would be a lower likelihood that things would turn back to the way they were, because anything big enough to stop the machine of the state would also be big enough to chug on for a bit.
Okay,
that implies that everyone would go along with this.
Sorry, but I got to here. Here's the thing. All right, I hear what you're saying, and I like it. Right? Like, I want to sign up at the dotted line here. I'm right there with you. But the thing is, we already kind of had that system. It's called a representative republic.
Nope.
Where we have 50 states of individual experiments going on at the same time.
That wasn't anarchy, and it's not comparable.
Go ahead. I didn't hear you, sir.
That wasn't anarchy, and it's not comparable. That was more states competing with each other for best ways to control people, not for best ways to let them be free. That's not an argument.
Like, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that, man, because like, hang on, no, hang on a minute, all right? Because like when you get to places like Pennsylvania, Ohio, even like places like Kansas, when they went out there, they weren't though, right? And I'm gonna tell you why. No, I'm gonna tell you why, right? The reasons why they weren't is because of the fact that like these states legitimately, they said this is all we're going to do, as far as you have to pay this tax when you buy land and you have to pay this tax when you import or export something, right? And
anarchy.
Well, you're going to have that in anarchy anyway. You're going to have to have some way.
Taxation.
Yes. Okay. So let me put it like this. When
you're going to have a government in anarchy is what you're saying. No, you won't.
Yeah, there will be. There will be a government in anarchy. Yes, there will.
No,
there absolutely
anarchy is the absence of archons. You're making a non-argument and you're trying to force the issue.
Right, okay. All right. So you have, what I'm saying, like fire trucks and shit in anarchy, right?
If the people want them, sure.
Oh, yes. No, Pinoy, don't do this.
Right. You're going to have fire trucks. You're going to have fire trucks.
Go down the firefighters and police. Right. The roads argument.
Well, who would build the roads?
Right on board.
No. Like yo, because all the firefighters here are volunteers, right? They're all volunteer individuals out of the community to go and give their time to get training, and fucking, maintain the equipment and, maintain all the stuff. And it's public land where the fire engines are, right? But like on the same point, it's just the community in general says it's public land. Like the state doesn't tax it because it's fucking whatever. Like, and this is basically an anarchical model nope. as much as possible, right?
I mean, it's like it's certainly less archonic, but it's not anarchic. No, they follow centralized rules. They use centralized authority to get what they want. They also use the authority of the state to cordon off massive sections of the country when they need to, and sometimes when they don't, for evacuatory purposes. They aren't anarchists. Well, they're certainly they're certainly better than the cops. The cops will shoot you if you don't do what they say.
The cops are horrible, right? But here's the wait a minute.
Anarchists, they still apply and answer to an archonic structure.
Wait a second, right? Let me put this in here, right? Because in an anarchical system, you would stand here and have hierarchies of individuals who knew shit. All right. You would lean on people who knew shit in general, right? Like fucking, if in your town you had a legal problem, you would go to fucking like the best lawyer, right? You
I
would go
still
to.
haven't argued fundamentally against hierarchy, so I don't know what point you're driving at.
I fucking feel you. I feel where you are, right? I'm saying the firefighters, like when they show up at a place that's on fire, regardless of whether you're in Anarchistan or whether you're in fucking, you know what I mean, Carlisle, right? Whatever. No matter where the fuck you are, when they show up, individuals listen because they know shit about fire that you don't, right? They in general know things about fire that you probably don't know. You know what I mean?
Or
like
you're
they
a
know.
fire marshal who gets arrested for running into a house to try and rescue a dog. That's happened before.
I feel where you are. All right, that's fucking dumb. But let's get away from the fucking exceptions. Let's go to the point of where, like, if your house is on fire, and the firefighters show the fuck up, you're gonna do what the fuck they asked you to do because they're fucking
almost
firefighters.
Like that could still happen in anarchy in many
for
sorts
sure.
of models.
For fucking sure, right? For fucking sure, right? But here's the thing: how do you pay for the fire engines? You'd have individuals.
Are you going to still give money if there's no government to keep your neighborhood from burning down?
Yeah, everybody would.
This is where I'm going to jump over to his side. Once again, we can have private companies do this. We can have private. Okay,
or nonprofits.
Locked community. Every gated community has private security, sir. Every single one of them.
Yes, and everybody inside of that community has to pay for that security.
That's right. And we're already
some of them have opt-in clauses where you can opt in or out.
No, you don't have places where if you have private security.
Yes, you do. That's why people have bodyguards on their own properties in certain gated communities because they don't want to pay the fees and they think they can get better services elsewhere. This exists. You don't know shit about this if you don't think that doesn't.
That's extra. You're going to pay the fucking HOA.
You don't have to in some places. That was the point I was making, and I wasn't wrong.
What up, Manny? Right, you're gonna pay the HOA. It's like, that fucking simple.
There's not an HOA in every gated community.
Well, no, and we can do this, right? Okay, you stop taxing me for the police budget, and I take my money that I earned, and I pay for my own security, or I buy my own guns, and I teach my fucking family how to shoot.
Bring back the militia.
Again, like fucking
no to the militia. I thought you liked the Second Amendment. I'm more pro-gun than you.
Again, I like the idea of militia, but again, you're gonna have to fucking have individuals in, like, because you know what? If somebody else's house catches on fire, it puts the next door neighbor's house at risk.
Yeah, that's why I'm outside with my fucking hose, and I'm helping.
I'm outside with my hose, right? Like, but this is kind of the fucking point. Like, look, everybody in the neighborhood pays because everybody in the neighborhood fucking benefits. You're going to end up having a fucking tax for dumb shit. It's just how it operates.
That's not what tax is if it's voluntary payment for voluntary services. I am not taxed because I went to a grocery outlet the other day and bought my Muscle Farm carnitine complex. I am paying for a product. I am not taxed because I pay for my fucking phone service with Mint Mobile. I am not taxed because of all of that stuff. It is a voluntary contribution I made because it was in my interest. These are anarchist arguments you cannot refute. And
I can
I
too,
would
because
still, I would still be doing this if there was no government because I want these things.
And nothing like, because you stand here and you fucking have to pay taxes on your cell phone bill because they have fucking towers on private fucking land. Or they have
just is another nail in the coffin of the state. I would get to keep more of my money if these people weren't in charge. Good for you.
Again, like, look, when you have to run electric lines through your fucking town or high fiber optic lines and things of this nature, and an individual says no, and they have to go around his fucking land,
many ways to make that happen that don't involve centralized force, not the least of which is more privately owned.
You will end up forming
more privately owned access ways, more privately owned places, or you could be an anarcho-communist, syndicalist, or mutualist and live in a community that's intentional for those purposes and just agree to those things, because agreement is not government. When I agree to something, when I agree to a set of rules, That isn't government. Government is forcing everybody to follow rules whether or not they agree. It's a monopoly on violence. We agreed on that earlier, but now you're backtracking because you want to try and call what isn't a government because it makes you feel better about having a statist argument against anarchy. It doesn't work.
You're going to end up forming a government.
Citation needed.
Yeah, there is no community on the planet that does not stand here and meet up to fucking have general
Citation
rules
needed.
and laws and regulations about how that community fucking conducts itself.
Okay, all right. We're gonna move on to the next stage of the stream. But real quick, you said citation needed. You know what popped in my head? The Federation of Russia. Just saying.
The Federation of Russia was always controlled by a government. The fact that anarchists maybe tried to take some control there doesn't mean it worked. There was no anarchist Russia there ever. There was always a transition period with statists at the helm.
Fair enough.
In fact, that's one of the reasons they failed, because like Marx initially claimed, and I don't support what later came out of his claims, but he originally claimed he wanted statelessness, which that would be nice. But then he trusted Lenin, and they formed Leninism. And Leninism was the transitionary period. It's where you get tankies from. I'm not a big fan of tankies, and I constantly say the only good com is an ANCOM.
Okay.
Yeah, ANCOM is a bit of a oxymoron.
The next stage here.
I gotta bounce, nigga. I got some shit I gotta go take care of.
Right.
It's been like an hour and 45 minutes. It's been nice talking with you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? Fucking go and check this nigga out. I'm Tom Pete's Peanut News. Everybody here knows who the fuck I am. I'll holler at y'all motherfuckers later. Peace.
It's okay.
All right.
Define anarchy. We got a super chat. Define anarchy. Okay. Anarchy, anarchos, without rulers. That being a centralized figure which uses and employs regularly aggression to get its means.
Okay, and thank you for reading that off for me, and thank you, John Smith, for the €2. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, I think, is that a pound? No, or is that euro? I don't know.
Euro. I'm
American. What do you want from me?
It's definitely a euro. He was just asking because he didn't know super chats for Americans could be paid in euros.
But okay, so I want to move on to the next stage of this, which is kind of an interview area. All right, so why did you start doing YouTube, and what is your main motivation behind it? Is it just frustration or what?
I'm a cynical, pessimistic asshole who's had night terrors of pandemics and evil and hell on earth since as long as I can remember. Like 4 years old was the first time that I fell asleep and saw torture. So my particular mind is very fucked. But I sort of grew into statism because I grew up around a lot of them, very military area. And I was a statist and believed for most of my life that the government was legitimate. I believed a lot of dogma. I was definitely indoctrinated. And eventually, I decided I wasn't necessarily for this. So I turned to libertarianism. And after I was a libertarian for a bit and, started with the boilerplate sort of Gary Johnson bullshit, I found Ron Paul. Ron Paul led me down a rabbit hole of Austrian economics, and I started to look into these things a little bit. Not as much as I should have, but I was also campaigning for Yale when he got shafted, and I realized at that point that conservatives had basically infiltrated libertarianism and made us their bitches. I decided to not support any sort of political action at that point, but I wasn't quite anarchist. I forced myself to watch hours of war and police brutality footage until I recognized that it wasn't for me. And then eventually, after a long enough period of that, my sort of trial by fire, I became anarchist, and I've been slowly learning more and more about all schools of anarchy since. But I'm irritated. I'm a pessimist who believes this is going to end in rivers of blood and years of darkness, and I think that very, very likely I'm going to fail. But my channel and all of its associated content is designed to put reasonability to anarchy without losing the edge and also without losing its necessary philosophical tenets. And ultimately, my channel is here to interview people, to post content that talks about how fucked we all are, and maybe throw some pebbles in this pond and see if I can cause a tsunami. Because ultimately, the state is probably going to win. But the more people like me who look at the conspiracies and understand them and make completely factual arguments while not being, given the time of day, and while often turning into people's scapegoat, their punching bag, and their hate figure to hate, the more of this that happens, the more of these reasonable arguments I make while catching flack, the more people are going to start to realize that maybe people just don't like anarchists because they can't disprove them. Because my logic with, for instance, P here tonight was solid, and he pretty much had nothing to say, and that's pretty standard in terms of these conversations, in terms of what I talk about on my channel, but also. Well, basically, I've been on social media, and I decided to finally start spewing my ideas out there. So I made awkward, stupid, low-quality bullshit videos for a while until I started to be more okay with the quality level, and here we are.
Okay, awesome. All right. So me myself, I happen. You brought up the conservative influx into libertarianism. I happen to like that. I have a term that I coined myself, leftitarianism. It's pretty much the Green Party trying to influence the Libertarian Party. And I've seen that happen a lot here in Oregon. And you said you were in Spokane, so you're in Washington. I'm sure you have the same issue up there, where the Green Party and the lefties are influencing the Libertarian Party and trying to take control. I happen to like Tom Woods and people like this. When it comes down to Cato or Mises, I'm Mises. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, Cato isn't anarchist. Cato is a think tank for primarily highly conservative but very small government studies. I find Cato valuable because, they have a lot of studies, for instance, on how immigrants don't commit more crime. Those people with inalienable rights that P wanted to treat poorly.
That's for citizens, not immigrants.
Rights are inalienable, or they're not rights. And what was I saying? So Cato is valuable, but ultimately I side more with Mises because the Mises Institute has a shit ton of valuable resources. That said, you can also find information on the Anarchist Library for more alternative forms of anarchy to the right American style, and the Alliance for the Libertarian Left has a decent amount of good essays. So does the Center for a Stateless Society. There are a lot of good forms of anarchy. But yeah, I can see why you'd pick Mises over Cato for sure, because they're not anarchist.
Yeah, no, and like I said, this is more the interview part of the show. So, okay, up there in Washington, right? Because I've been to Spokane. I know exactly where Spokane is, right? I went to the 7-Eleven up in there. I've been there. Do you see the Libertarian Party splitting there like they are in Oregon? In Oregon, we're actually suing each other. There's 2 Libertarian parties, and they're suing each other.
I don't pay attention to Libertarian Party politics for the most part because I find it a waste of time and a fundamentally statist institution.
You see it as a waste of time. I get it that you don't vote. I understand that, but I've always had this mentality. If you don't vote, then you don't have a right to bitch.
Then you don't think rights are inalienable.
You have a right to bitch.
Then you don't think rights are inalienable. I do. They're either inalienable or they're not rights.
It's more that it's hypocritical. That's what Dodge means.
No, it's not. It's not hypocritical to say I disagree with this thing these other people did, just because I didn't ask them to do something different. I don't have to ask somebody not to drive their car on the correct side of the road in order to be upset that they fucking veered over and hit me. I didn't have to ask anyone. This government sprung out of its own accord before I was born, stamped me with a number, claimed I was its property, and then eventually I got to the point I am now where I say, no, I'm not your property, and nobody else is either. You're illegitimate. Fuck you. Rights are inalienable, and I have the right to complain about any fucking thing I want. If you don't think so, then don't ever complain about Russia, China, any other country, because you didn't vote for them, did you?
Okay. All right. So here's another question I want to field to you. All right. So you believe in an anarchist system. I understand that. Who exactly is going to protect us from our enemies that we've already made if we transfer over to an anarchist system?
First off, the enemies that we've already made will likely come to collect at some point anyway. The dollar is insolvent, and the fact is the US government is participating in a giant global debt swapping market, which is a giant circle jerk that ends up with a bunch of people trying to out leverage each other. That's the fundamental nature of the system as it exists now, and eventually these enemies will come home to roost. It's not a matter of whether or not they will in anarchy. It's a matter of whether or not they will in terms of the actual state we're in. And in the terms of the actual state we're in, we're already fucked. It's going to end in years of darkness and rivers of blood. That's it. That's all she wrote. But in anarchist society, there's a potential that we could find some sort of peace by disavowing the actions of this government and finding better market-oriented solutions going forward. And a foreign policy of a lack of interventionism would be a great start. Ron Paul's golden rule, conservatives booed him for. Because the ultimate truth is the U.S. earns its enemies every single second of every single fucking day, and they're going to come home to roost eventually anyway. But the sooner we kill this aggressive foreign policy, the less enemies we'll make in the meantime between them and eventually conquering us. Unless you just like the idea of perpetual war, this should make sense to you.
No,
well, you don't have to be libertarian or ANCAP to be anti-war.
Well, actually, Yorkie, I was gonna throw the stick to you to ask him a question here in a second, but no, I totally agree with you. And honestly, the best moment of my political life, when I was politically awakened, was Ron Paul giving his speech after he retired, pretty much telling the entire Senate to fuck themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That was an amazing moment. You're all a bunch of government overreachers. You're all evil and fuck you. I spent my entire life trying to fight you, and
no.
I lost. But you know what? I created a whole movement that will come back to bite you in the ass. That's pretty much what he said. It was amazing. And that's kind of what you reminded me of. Now, Yorkie, throw him a question because I got one that's going to be a little bit different. It's not political. So, Yorkie.
So, yeah, with the whole rights are inalienable and all that shit, how would ANCAPs go about with immigration and protecting their borders?
I mean, first off, borders are a statist invention. The reason the word border exists is because the original borders were designed to represent the bordere, or the edge of a shield, that being a strip, a band that sort of bound the shield together. The reason the word border exists is to define that strip. It's not just a line. It's not just an imaginary thing in somebody's brain. It's a strip. And that strip is an interstitial area between governments where treaties have been formed and governments have agreed not to fuck with it or cross it, which means that borders themselves are a statist invention based on statist treaties, statist governments, and statist agreements. Meaning, if we're ever to get past this, there's going to be no borders. And those borders that you want to defend won't exist. Now, What will exist are territorial markers, and those territorial markers will have to be won by, basically rights acquisition. I own land. I'm agreeing with my neighbor that we're part of the same group. So because we're part of that same group and we both own the land, that's that territory. We're next to each other, that sort of thing. And ultimately, if I want to invite somebody to my house, it's my right, my inalienable right, which is not shit. Inalienable rights may be shit to, somebody with a British flag in their background because, Britain's the thing that the US declared independence from when they said that rights were inalienable. So
And
maybe
you
that's where
guys
you
base
come
the
from in terms of
Constitution
that. But,
from the English Bill of
ultimately
Rights.
speaking, rights are inalienable and they apply to everyone. And if we're talking about immigration, any sort of immigration policy that would violate an individual's rights is not anarchist by nature. So how would anarchists deal with it? By respecting rights. That should be a good enough response.
Okay, and Yorkie, I know he threw a blow there, but I throw blows at the monarchists all the time. Come on, let's calm down. I throw the same blows.
I mean, I'm not necessarily engendering an environment of calm here. I'm an abrasive asshole. I fuck shit up and I'm very chaotic. I like Sonic for that reason.
I've heard all the limey jabs all the time. They don't bother me.
Yeah, like what I say the other day, I think I told your queen to suck my cock.
Hey, you don't vote over there. You have no right to complain about the queen. God save the queen.
Yeah, God damn the queen. Anyway.
Oh, but you don't vote there. We just acknowledge that you don't have to vote for a government to criticize it. Ooh, that's spicy.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a horrible human being. All right, so here we go. This isn't political. All right, you've been causing some drama over on Twitter, man. What's up?
Like, you're throw a rock. Which one?
Attacking, the redhead libertarian. You're going after all these libertarian.
I go after everybody.
Do you hate women? No, I'm kidding.
Specifically, I go after everybody, and I've been going after everybody for 11 years. The notion that I go after an exclusive group, whether it be libertarians, the left, the right, or women, is unfounded and completely baseless.
I was joking, right?
Yes, but I've actually had people who were serious about that. But the thing that came up with Jocelyn was that, first off, she accused me of doxing her for using that name, despite having tweeted out articles where she wrote under that name, which means she didn't mind it being known until I was the one who used the word. I didn't dox her, but she wants to claim that.
The thing is, I'm agreeing with you here. Sorry if I'm irritating you by cutting you off, but
no, you're fine.
Yeah. I've said it straight up. My name's Chris. I've gone on camera. I don't give a shit, right? Like, I'm Christopher. Welcome to the fucking Mad Dodge Productions. Welcome to the shit show. I don't care. I will put myself out there. Now, if somebody attacks my wife, now we have a problem. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you've attacked anybody's significant other. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when the doxing thing comes up, if you put yourself out there, you're fair game.
Well, right. And the fact is, she didn't want fairness. She wanted to lie about me. The first thing I said was she writes for Human Events right now. Human Events is a rag that used to be like Ronald Reagan's Fox News. That meaning that, like, you know how everybody's like, oh, Trump gets all this information from Fox News? Human Events was Reagan's Fox News. He got a bunch of his information from it, most of it, in fact. And it's a conservative rag that leans heavily right, always has, and has a litany of rightist writers for it. Recently, the managing editor, I believe, is what his title is, Ian Miles Chong, went after a bunch of people for, he wanted to, it was a public call for talent, basically, for feisty MAGA types. And then a couple months later, she starts writing there, writes her one and only article she's ever written there about Minds.com and a conference there. And I just so happened to say that maybe this feisty MAGA type that he was looking for was what she was, and that she wasn't a libertarian. Now, I go after everybody. I go after a shit ton of people. But the reason I said this was because she had supported the right to conquest, philosophically speaking. She had said that it was okay that Trump assassinated a foreign leader because of the right to conquest and because it's defensive, quote. And she's now later hiding behind case law and trying to claim she was making a legalist argument, not a moralist one. But if you can't make a moralist argument for what you're claiming, I claim you're immoral. And I don't understand how you can make the right to conquest argument from a libertarian perspective, but she certainly didn't. Now, she had been catching flack for a long time before I came at her over this.
Well,
when I finally
to get specific, didn't she say that you doxed her and then you were harassing her, right? Like you were.
Yeah, but that was all later. And that was after I had defended myself for a long time, because I woke up one morning, the morning after, because she had deleted a bunch of the tweets that she put out there, but I had screenshots, so I posted those screenshots. That's basically all I did, and I posted them, and I said, watch for her to come back, because I think she also took off her account for a short bit or something like that. A lot of these people do it. Especially when I confront them on something, because me and my people are very intense, to put it mildly. So when I started to make these claims, which were 100% factually accurate, she decided to claim that even though it had been happening for hours and hours before I started talking, and even though the thing I was mentioning it for was a response to one of her criticisms that she had gotten for one of the things she had said for many hours ago, she then, while I was still asleep, said that I was the source of all of the hate that was coming her way, and lying about that, because obviously it had been coming for a significantly longer period of time than I was out. That I am a grifter who accepts government money, and that I have Charles Manson eyes, and I'm why she carries, and a bunch of other things like this, riling up her base to come after me based on lies and baseless accusations. And so I defended myself for days until it eventually culminated in her claiming that that like it was a harassment campaign trying to get me banned from Twitter, and then and just keeping up the pressure. So I just kept up the pressure too. And eventually, when she, I can't even remember what she wanted to do in that regard. But I said something to the effect of, "Fine, Jocelyn, you want war. I guess you can have it." And because I used the name she uses on her public shit, she still uses this name on her Minds.com article, by the way, which is still on humanevents.com. And the human events thing is still in her bio. So everybody can still find out her name, because she publicized it. She made it public, and she made it very obviously public. Because I used that one first name, she claimed I doxed her immediately, and that I was planning on releasing more docs. This was a lie, which resulted in thousands of messages being sent to me, most of them hateful, and many of them trying to get me banned from Twitter, not the least of which were some death threats that came because people were trying to come to her defense, knowing nothing of the situation and ignoring all facts, all evidence. And basically, I dealt with a bunch of orbiters for a few months.
Well, white knights are gonna be white knights.
Well, absolutely. All right. So, this is a little bit political, but not quite. When it came to the last election, if you were gonna vote, who were you rooting for? Because I was I was Austin Peterson. That's who I was rooting for.
Dipshit does not know libertarianism, and he said the NAP is an ANCAP suicide pact to me directly.
Yes. No, I disagree with him on the Confederate flag as well. Me and him do not agree 100%, but we agree 75.
Great
That's
argument for anarchy.
most, you know what I mean? Like you can't necessarily agree with somebody 100% of the time and vote for them. It's not going to happen. You're not the same person.
Almost like voting is a sham.
No, it's almost like you have to decide what is important and what isn't. You have to
Anarchy
go
is
through
important.
the checklist and go, hey, I'm anti-abortion. This is important to me. I'm anti-death penalty. This is important to me. You
And
have to
while-
go down the line here and choose who is your best candidate.
And while the state expands with your guy in power and people tire of your guy, the state will have the new powers it has gained from its expansion when the next guy gets in. So then not only will the state have the pro-abortion stuff you don't like, but they'll also have a bunch of other stuff that your guy put in that you disagree with. So congratulations, you just made the argument for anarchy again by arguing against incrementalism. I mean, realistically speaking, we're talking about a gradual process of freedom revocation.
Yeah, but when are you going to get your perfect candidate unless you're running yourself?
Perfection is impossible.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, it's impossible. Exactly. That's my point. Like, I was asked by the Libertarian Party of Oregon to run. I talked to my wife about it. We decided it wasn't a good time. We decided no, we didn't want the public. We didn't want the bullshit. You know what comes with running for office, right? It's a bunch of bullshit. We didn't want it. But if they ask me again, I'm probably going to do it at this point. Like, I'm done.
Well, I won't vote for you.
Yeah, because you won't vote for anybody. And
Right.
where does that come from? Exactly. Where do you get the right to demonize
Rights are
my
inalienable.
political system when you don't even participate?
Rights are inalienable.
Yeah, no one's saying you don't actually have the right to say. It's just that it's hypocritical.
It's not.
And that's your answer, just no, flat out. Just
I already explained why it's not hypocritical earlier. The veering car. It's not my responsibility to ask everyone personally not to hit me with their car. If they hit me with their car, they're violating my rights regardless of whether or not I asked, and I can call them a fucking asshole who should learn to drive better
Okay.
and extract my pound of fucking flesh. There is zero hypocrisy in criticizing what you aren't a part of. And two things: you criticized the Queen, and he criticized the U.S. governmental system, and is now criticizing an anarchist. All of these things are criticisms of things that people don't vote for. So you're proving my point. Either you all are hypocrites and we all are hypocrites and it's impossible to not be a hypocrite, or it's not hypocrisy and I'm well within my rights.
fair enough. I like how you wrap things around. Like, no, good job. You're doing great. All right.
I mean, I'm an asshole, but I'm
No. Hey, I'm an asshole too, so we'll get along great. That's why I got in touch with you after 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, I knew we would get along. It's fine. All right. So when it comes to the beer virus, I had to correct myself there. The pandemic freak out, right? Okay, so here's where I'm at. We didn't do this over the Spanish flu. We didn't. You didn't see England doing this over the Black Death. You told me there would be 300,000 dead in 3 weeks. I don't see the carts outside and the bells ringing saying, bring out your dead. I don't see it. So where exactly are we going to end this bullshittery that is the government overreach?
Well, if I can answer your questions for those specific analogies you just said, Dodge, obviously they were way different times. The Spanish flu was a century ago, and Black Death, that's been on several times in Britain, but over the centuries. Obviously times have changed, people have changed, and so has governments, procedures and shit.
Yeah, but you know what hasn't changed? Our Constitution as Americans. And
That's what amendments are.
1912 wasn't 1712. Okay, 1912 was 1912. 1914 was 1914. That was what 105 years ago. That wasn't that long in the political discussion. No, you don't get to shut down my government over this. I I
Oh, let's
finally
shut down the government. That would be great.
no, I finally got to meet my father for the first time in 35 years. I had to cancel my trip 2 days early and fly home because the whole West Coast was going to be shut down.
By the government.
Yeah, exactly.
The government is
No,
stronger than ever. It's not canceled. It's
and
not
I'm
shut
not
down.
sick. And if I was sick and I was what asymptomatic, as they put it, then I got 6 kids and a wife. You're telling me none of them are sick? We're all asymptomatic? Yeah, I call bullshit.
Well, actually, you shouldn't, because the primary group affected by this is old people. But just to be very clear and extremely specific, the Constitution has changed. That's what amendments are. Just to respond to your response to Yorkie. But all that aside, because I could be obnoxious about that particular point for a while. Your government hasn't shut down. The government hasn't shut down. No governments have shut down. In fact, all governments have gotten stronger, and they're going to get stronger. This whole contact tracing thing is Big Brother. Watch Corbett's video on it. James Corbett Report. Watch his video on it. He just put it out. Contact tracing is Big Brother. It's very, very Orwellian. And the fact that the government is stronger than ever is only just beginning. Because all these restrictions that are going to place, the government does not fucking contract. That was my point about your politics thing. The government does not contract. It's not going to grow smaller. It's going to keep on gaining power and not get rid of those powers even after these things are over. The new normal is going to be shit.
Well, the problem is, and the reason why, it's an issue for pretty much everything in life, is humans are too naturally corruptible.
Probably, yeah. And that's the reason I kept on fucking saying anarchy is probably going to fail. Statism's probably going to fail. This is probably going to end in years of darkness and rivers of blood.
Yeah, I agree.
Because human beings are fallible. All right, we're destined to fail on some points, but we're also able to achieve greatness.
Anarchy could be great.
Like we can achieve this if we really try.
That we can. I mean, people keep on making jokes about how I'm the anarchist Trump because I keep on talking like him, but I don't fucking care. We can make anarchy great again. Fuck all of them.
All right. So, where are you from, man? Like I said, this is the interview portion. So, where are you from? How did you grow up?
Well, I mean, first off, I'm curious. Where do I sound like I'm from?
You don't have any different of an accent from me. So, the West Coast is what I'm thinking.
I come from the Southern California desert, Methville.
Oh, okay. I was down in San Bernardino, Apple Valley.
I do know it, but I'm not going to say where I lived because I don't say that information on the internet.
Oh no, I'm saying this is when I was a kid, like when I was growing up. I was down in Apple Valley, San Bernardino, areas like that. So yeah, no, Wiener Schnitzel, In and Out, yeah,
In and Out, yeah. I've still never been to a Wiener Schnitzel.
What? What's wrong with you? Go get you a fucking chili dog.
I wasn't. Well, I make better chili dogs, and in fact, my chili dog recipe that I have now is adapted from Sonic, the Sonic games, because that's his favorite food. So I make a better chili dog, and it's not sweaty and dilapidated in an overly watery bun.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not a big fan of fast food hot dogs. Is all they always seem. If you wanted an analogy to a dick, you could just like order one and just like, oh yeah, this feels about right.
So here's the thing with me, right? So I was born down in Shreveport, Louisiana, right? But I didn't grow up there. I grew up in LA. I grew up here in Oregon. You know, I moved to Oregon when I was like 9 years old. I moved to LA when I was like 6 months, right? So West Coast, you know, fucking raised. But I
Yep.
was born down south. And here's the thing with me: when I flew into Shreveport not that long ago, as that plane's coming down and I get off the plane, I felt like I was home. I don't know why. I just felt that way. Do you feel like you're at home when you're over here on the West Coast? Is that how you feel about it? This is your home?
I never really feel at home. I hated the desert. It was dirt jail. I'll probably end up visiting there a lot, especially when I move back down to LA. And I'm going to be moving back down to LA because I have some rather aggressive stuff to market, and I can't market it to people who like where they are. But I've never really felt at home anywhere. And up here, it's kind of closer, and it's fucking absolutely gorgeous because there are fucking rivers and trees and fucking mossy rocks
The
and it
mountains and
snows
stuff.
and
Man, you're in the same neck of the woods I am, right? I'm in the Cascade Mountains. So, dude,
I'm
I
not
know.
in the Cascades, but I'm proximal to them. If I had a car, I could drive there.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful, you know, like the Puget Sound. Man, I went and worked on an island out in the Puget Sound, and that was fun. I was at work, right? You know, it shouldn't be fun, but it was fun because it's just beautiful. It really
Right.
is.
Well, and I got to tell you, as somebody who grew up and spent most of his life in a dry desert where it was like rocks or decomposed rocks, that was the primary scenery. The whole experience of flying out of the desert and coming above the clouds over there, and then it being nighttime because I took a night flight because it was a sunset, and then I watched the sunset on the Pacific Ocean, and then I was over the clouds, and then it turned into nighttime, and then suddenly there was rain outside the plane and a small amount of turbulence, which I didn't really care about because planes are statistically very safe, and I'm a very logically oriented person. But coming through that rain and then entering the cloud and then seeing the lights of Seattle just fucking light up as the plane came down through rain, and just seeing all the water and all the things to do, and then taking the bus from Seattle to Spokane. It just, there was something about it that made me feel like I was making the right choice. But I wouldn't say that I felt like I was at home. Although it's surreal because there were fucking waterfalls and like fog and like rain coming through the trees as the bus went through. It was very the first scene in a horror movie kind of thing, and I kind of like that vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, no, you know, the plane tipped down. I landed in Shreveport. I got off the plane. I took that breath of southern air, and I'm like, I'm home. And it's just how I felt. And I can't explain it. You know, like, how can you really? It's just how you feel about it. And I felt like I was finally at home for once. And then I got to meet a whole side of my family that I never knew, which was amazing as well. But all right. So
Well, you should look into DNA regression and information storage, because there's a theory going around that information and entire knowledge bases could potentially be stored in DNA, and we just don't know it because we can't access it. We don't have the right codex.
you know, that's interesting too. Like, okay, here's a question for you. Do you believe in reincarnation? Do you believe in that? Do you think that actually exists?
After I die, There will be an obliterating whiteness followed by an ever-present darkness, and I will cease to know anything.
Okay, so the answer is no. Yorkie, do you believe in reincarnation?
Not really. And I guess I'd probably be classed as an agnostic. To be honest, I'm not really sure if there is an afterlife or not. I'm leaning more towards no.
You would probably like Dawkins and Hitchens.
Well, and here's the thing, though. The only reason I actually consider reincarnation a valuable idea is past life. You have kids who remember being a person, and they can tell you who they were. They can tell you who their friends were. They can tell you how they died. How does that just come out of your imagination? It really doesn't.
Potential from that DNA storage thing, and then secondly, they could potentially have watched a lot of movies or talked to a lot of people or something similar to that, or they could just be contriving the whole thing because kids lie. I lied a lot as a kid.
Or schizophrenic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I try. See, sometimes I'm cynical, and that's most of the time, but sometimes I try for the benefit of the doubt. I was trying for that here, but yes, yeah, they could absolutely be mentally ill. I should have been more cynical, you're right. Fucking damaging my brand over here.
All right. So, yeah, you said that you had a lot of people hating on you on social media. You've been banned from Discord, this and that. Do you think that's a you problem, or is that everybody else? Like, how is this happening?
It's a fusion. It's a fusion. I'm a terrible asshole. I'm very rude, highly abrasive, and I constantly piss off as wide a variety of people as possible, which means that my enemies are many and my friends are few. And all of that leads to a gigantically hostile environment for me, with overly present people desiring to censor me. There's a current tag going on right now to try and have me censored called the Lulbert cost. And they literally want to take me off Twitter. That's why the tag started. And they're trying to censor me. They've been mass reporting my tweets. They already got one taken down and got me in 12 hours of Twitter suspension. But that's exactly it, though. The system we have is not designed for radical change. It's designed for a preservation of the status quo. So while I acknowledge I could be nicer and more civil, and I probably would get banned from less places, the likelihood, very strong likelihood, is that even then I would be threatening the status quo enough that they would at least want to censor me. And they probably would, because the system is very quick and easily accessible to censorship routes. I mean, yeah, I'm an asshole. I'm a terrible person. Yeah. Nobody should listen to me. Nobody should follow me. If this video recording is any indication, I'm very hostile and very rude. I stomp on people's feet, and I understand why they don't like me. But at the same time, the censorship
kind of simple here.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first Twitter account got banned because I kept calling out all the Muslims and how all the rape gangs get away in Britain.
I mean, that's a sort of problem, but there's still a much greater problem of sexual assault in public schools over there, and also the police department. Police departments love raping, so I mean, I can understand
they
why you don't...
a few police officers have actually been caught having ties with the Muslim rape gangs, and they outright protect them because
and I have no doubt of that.
Called racist.
Yeah, well, and especially since if you're called that, you can be literally arrested there. So, and I can understand like calling them out. I was just trying to balance it out a little bit. There's still a huge amount more problem in policing the schools and the churches.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about the school stuff, to be honest. Or at least I hadn't really looked into it that much. But for me, the big issue is that's why I brought up about the immigration earlier. Because all these people have come in because our government sort of bent the knee to the EU and just went full open borders.
And first off, I want to say I supported Brexit. So that should tell you something about me. I'm all for
Yeah.
decentralization, and Brexit does that. But the whole
Yep.
but also I didn't vote for Brexit, obviously, because I'm a Yank. So the whole idea of you need to be able to and then vote for things to complain about them, that's invalidated. I'm not a hypocrite for being pro Brexit, but
No, and that's a good point because I've been pro Brexit the whole time. I hang out with a bunch of British people. We have talked about it on my show ad nauseum. You know
Right.
what I mean?
So
Constantly.
So I
But
just thought I'd get out there and then say, just look it up. There's a huge pederasty problem in the church where they think it's okay. There's a huge problem in any public school system, especially public school systems in America. And all police departments around the world have at least a proximal issue with it.
well, I get that you don't vote, but Adam Kokesh is trying to make a run again.
I don't
for
like
the
Adam
Libertarian
for a
Party.
variety of reasons.
He wants to run and then shut down the government.
I don't like Adam for a variety of reasons, and not the
anybody
least of which. Sorry, I just trampled you.
Yeah, no. I said Adam Kokesh is trying to run again,
Right.
and I believe he's more on par with you than anybody else I've ever heard. Really,
McAfee was more on par, and now he's with Kokesh as the VP. My point is, and has been for a while, that you can't do the things that Adam is saying he can with politics. The federal government does not have the authorization to simply dissolve at the order of the president. It doesn't fucking work. And if he did get in and start to do that, they would just declare him mentally incompetent and have him impeached. It'd be a very short presidency.
that's a very good point. Actually, I didn't think about that. You're right. They would impeach him almost immediately.
I mean, it's funny that he thinks he can just take the reins like that, but I think it's a time and money sink that I'm not willing to do. I'm not willing to participate in that, and I'm tired of seeing people talk about helping him fix the Freedom Bus.
Yeah. Do you think this is a money grab by him? Honestly,
No, I actually don't. I'm one of the few cynics who does not think that this is specifically a money grab. I do think he's delusional. I think anybody who thinks that you can simply join the federal government and dissolve it is delusional.
Okay. Did you hear about Adam Kokesh and his ex? How she?
I don't
came
talk
out?
about that because that's all allegations. I was accused of doxing when I didn't dox. I've been accused of a variety of things, mostly by women, when I didn't do them. And that's the thing. That's the reason the women thing comes up, because a lot of the men that don't like me simply block me and move on. Women got to be women about it. But the whole, no, I'm not simply going to believe her. I'm not going to not believe her, I mean, she could be right. I mean, he did apologize technically. But let me be very specific. I've heard of a lot of people apologizing for shit they didn't do. And you can watch Audit the Audit for a lot of citizens who just admit to crimes they didn't commit because they were pressured. So realistically speaking, I think that situation is private business that should have been kept private because no proof existed. And reasonably speaking, I don't support either.
Well, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it was made public. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was made public, but the allegations were made public. No proof was. I'm all about the proofs.
Oh, absolutely. And looking at Adam though, okay, I like Adam's content. I like the message he sends out for the most part. It gets a little iffy. I saw that debate with him and Chris Conwell, and I don't know. Both of them were a little on the crazy side, in my opinion. But when it comes to these allegations, both of them made it public. So that's the only reason I brought it up. And he does seem to be a little egotistical.
I'm egotistical, but I'm also solipsistic.
We all are. We're on YouTube. Come on.
I mean, I'm sitting in a chair that's degrading. It's a Walmart chair and it's degrading, and my desk fucking wobbles. So I wouldn't be the person to talk about the perfect life. I got clutter everywhere, all that stuff. But at least I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm doing star-spangled awesome, as the guy from Newsroom would say. And I don't have any delusions that I'm going to take down the government with the government. I mean, John Smith has been disagreeing in multiple ways with me in the chat, but we agree here. He's delusional. The deep state won't allow that.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so here's a softball question, man. Do you like ice cream? And if so, what's your favorite flavor?
Vanilla, ideally with the flecks of vanilla in it.
Racist. You like it because it's white. No, I'm kidding.
Yep. White is
I
right.
like it. I like it because it's a very underrated flavor, and because it when it's made properly, it holds the churn slightly better. The flavor doesn't like have certain pockets of the flavor in the ice cream. It's usually relatively well distributed, and when it's made properly, the flavors just fucking boom in your mouth. And like the idea of adding something to that or having another flavor to me seems completely it seems like pointless. I mean, I'm willing to entertain certain other flavors, and I think my favorite alternative flavor to vanilla was this caramel butterscotch that I had once, and it was like caramel swirls into a butterscotch laden ice cream. And
was that Dryers? I think I've had
it wasn't.
that.
It was from an ice cream shop that made it on site.
Oh, okay.
And
no, me myself, I like Neapolitan. So yeah,
that's not even ice cream.
I'm all about the flavor mixing. I guess take that.
Well, that's
out.
not even ice cream. That's basically like sherbet.
Neapolitan? No, it's strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. Come on, it's
strawberry.
Like everything great about ice cream.
The strawberry flavor in that is mostly not cream. That's my beef with Neapolitan. That's the reason it gets really watery really quickly.
Yeah, Dodge, you're so wrong with that one. You shouldn't be mixing the colours.
Yeah.
I said it out loud.
No, but see that I saved myself because I don't mind two different browns either. I don't mind the butterscotch and the caramel either. In fact, if I had a scoop of like vanilla with that caramel butterscotch on top of it, it'd be fucking pretty good, probably. Maybe like serve with a cup of coffee so that I can have sort of a mocha kind of deal.
Yeah, no, at Yorkie, whenever I actually fly over to England and I meet you, right, I'm just going to buy you a fucking chocolate milkshake and be like, here you go. Because I know that'll trigger you. And it'll be all right.
I never actually had a milkshake before.
Are you kidding me? How sheltered are you? How have you not had a milkshake?
I just never bothered.
They're less common in the UK as well. That's
still
really
get
an American
milkshakes.
kind of thing.
Oh, am I being elitist here? Like, how dare you not have a milkshake?
I mean that I've had Earl Grey tea, but I've never had it made by a Briton.
Oh, you didn't have Jeeves come and deliver it to you? Here you go, sir.
I'm not a fan of the idea of butlers to begin with. That seems elitist to me.
Well, there goes Yorkie's job.
What are you, a butler?
Nah, I'm unemployed.
I had to.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, job I did have was a security guard.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so Jeremiah, do you celebrate the 4th of July? And if you do, why? With your political leanings.
When I lived in my hometown, I would go out with family because it was a time when family likes to get together. I don't live there anymore, so I stay at home and tell people how to do illegal things. That's my independent celebration.
Okay, fair enough. What is your favorite holiday? Do you like Christmas? I mean, New Year's, anything?
I'm not a fan of Christmas. I think Christmas is a consumerist hellhole where people pretend to care about things so that they can stop pretending to care for the rest of the year. Possibly Thanksgiving. And then secondarily Halloween, maybe. They compete. And the reason they compete is because Halloween is a time when we get to celebrate the worst of us, and Thanksgiving is a time when we get to celebrate the best of us. Christmas, absolute terrible. Consumerism, nothing but drooling retards trying to pretend they care. New Year's, a bunch of liars lying about how much better the next year is going to be. You know, Easter, there is no God. 4th of July, we're not independent. There's nothing to celebrate. It's a way for people to feel cathartic about a situation that doesn't exist. Thanksgiving and Halloween are pretty safe, pretty pure. I can enjoy them reasonably well.
Okay. No, I get that. And good reasoning as well, sir. I happen to love Halloween. That's my favorite holiday, and that's just because I enjoy being a kid again, right? Because I have 6 kids. So I get to fucking dress up with my kids, and have a good time with my kids.
It'll certainly be fun when I have kids and I can teach them how to make realistic gore.
Yeah, no, and Thanksgiving, who doesn't like turkey and stuffing? You know what I mean?
I'm not a fan of turkey, but I do like the togetherness and the fact that I can eat a large portion in front of people so that they can remember how much I can eat.
Yeah, no, and you got to get that grease in there to grow your beard out nice and fluffy, right?
Yeah, I was always more the ham person, and my family always had ham and potatoes au gratin in there, or au gratin, or however you pronounce that.
With my family, we're turkey, Thanksgiving, ham, Christmas. We don't want both for both holidays, so we switch it up.
Well, we didn't care because we just wanted the balanced meal, and the fact that there was variety meant that people weren't fighting about what should be there.
Okay, well, we're continuing on with the interview portion, like I said before. We're just talking about food. What is your favorite food, man?
I don't do favorites. In terms of that sort of thing, I don't do favorites. There are too many good things.
Is there something that you have to have at least once a month where you're just like, I have to have pepperoni pizza or what have you?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I try to have some sort of variety, but a lot of my food that I have every day is the same anyway because I'm trying to live inexpensively while I arm up.
Okay, so what are you eating regularly then?
I make a lot of homemade chili. I make a lot of eggs. I probably eat anywhere from 9 to 18 eggs a day. Lots of cheese, lots of heavy cream, lots of protein powders, lots of pre-workout.
Okay, so you're bench pressing a lot then and doing weightlifting, right? Because you're doing a high protein diet. Sounds like you're weightlifting.
I have a bench in the basement that is part of my housemate situation. But most of my lifting is done with the plates outside so that I can do high intensity interval training with the stair steps out there, and so that I can do more core stability exercises, which all the power comes from the hips and core. So the stronger those are, the better they are. And generally, I use the Spry gravity trainer. You can get it at Walmart off the back door to do body weight exercises and a lot of isometric stretching.
Okay, cool. Like my little brother, he's all into that weightlifting stuff. I'm not into it personally. I'm kind of a geek. So like that's not really my thing.
Well, not to be specifically offensive in this regard.
Music while he works out. What do you bump?
Well, just to say this before I get into that, not because not to be too offensive in that regard, but the whole point of the Second Amendment is a militia. And if you're truly a constitutionalist, you should probably get more fit so that you can be part of that militia if there's ever a time to need to call it up.
You do have a point, sir. I hear your point and I acknowledge it.
Um,
Yeah, I probably should get more, and my wife would probably like it if I got more fit. You know what I mean? It'd probably be good all the way around.
And I encourage it. I have a hashtag on Twitter, #FitToBoog, where I talk about my workouts and my general shit. And I'll probably be doing that on Instagram relatively soon. But in general, that's the way it is.
But yeah, what do you bump when you work out, man? What kind of music do you listen to?
I mean, I like a wide variety of music. I normally turn on something random, and for instance, I'm not using a music subscription right now, so it's all my collection, and so it can veer wildly from like some harsh industrial shit to some Japanese noise metal to some, Hoobastank to fucking the Carpenters or something from the Sonic games because I have a lot of that on my phone. Um, and I mean, it veers. It's a weird, wild ride, and sometimes I have to skip multiple songs in order to keep the mood.
Okay, so but you like industrial, so you're kind of into that techno area,
Most
right?
of
Where it's
industrial is not
just
techno, but yes,
electronic beats and no lyrics. Because I can't get into that. That's not my thing.
most of industrial is not techno. But yes, I do like that. Industrial started out as an experimental fusion genre of organic and inorganic instrumentation, and was like largely pioneered by a band called Throbbing Gristle, and another band called Einstürzen Neubauten. And both of these bands used words in their music. So do Rammstein. They're an industrial metal band. So does Rob Zombie. He's industrial rock.
Well,
Um,
I know Rob Zombie and White Zombie, sir. Like, don't fucking count me out here because I
well,
know them.
I'm not counting you out. I'm saying that those qualify as industrial, and the majority of industrial is not techno. If you don't like techno and do like words, I can recommend you Ministry. I can recommend you KMFDM. I can recommend you Icebreaker, Oomph. Um, Death Grips is industrial hip hop. Um, so is Techno Animal. Brotherhood of the Bomb is a great album, and I
Okay.
highly advise listening to it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want just a wide variety of music to check out, there's a podcast called Peace Freaks, and it used to be called Sounds Like Liberty, and they had me on for like many hours. I think it was like about as long as this recording has been, and we just talked about music and politics the whole time.
Okay. Awesome. And yeah, like you kind of alluded to, we're about to hit the 3 hour mark, so we're probably gonna wrap up here soon. But hey, man, your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? What genre of movies do you sit down when you're like, I hate the government and all that, but I just want to chill out and watch something? What do you watch?
Again, I don't really do favorites, but I mean, there are certain ones that stick around in my mind. I think Strange Days is great. Uh, it's a great movie about sort of freeing your mind and breaking free from illusions and knowing that the whole situation is corrupt, especially with an increasingly detached and digital society. The crimes don't stop; they just change. Um, and it has a great soundtrack. Donnie Darko, and also similarly from the same production company, a movie called God Bless America about a middle-aged man who thinks he's dying from cancer, going on a killing spree with a depressed and bored high school girl. Um, so that, let me think. Um, I mean, The Fugitive. You can't go wrong with Harrison Ford's The Fugitive. Um, Fucking there's a long series. That's the reason I don't do favorites. I liked the Sonic movie that recently came out, obviously. Um
You really I haven't seen it, but I heard bad reviews about that one. But Donnie Darko, man, I'm right there with you with Donnie Darko. That's a badass fucking flick.
I don't know who gave you a bad review of that movie because it's gotten mostly amazing reviews, both from critics and audiences. You should check out its tomatometer reading.
Okay, I will, and I'll probably check it out because I have kids and they want to see it, so
it's definitely something to see, and it's available if you want to pirate it. You can always find a version of it online, but obviously, totally don't do that. But if you don't want to pirate it, it's even available in-home theater purchases for about $20. You can rent it for a couple days on Amazon.
Oh, okay. And I'm sure I could probably do that through Spectrum as well, which is my cable company. Because my wife made me freaking wire up again. I didn't want cable. I just wanted the internet, but she wanted TV. So now we have.
Makes sense with the lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's wrap it up here and when are you going to do your next stream? What are you going to do it about? What's going on over on your channel, man? Like, tell everybody about you. Your link is in the description. So you guys go click on it. Even if you disagreed with him, go click on it and go tell him you disagree.
Well, I mean, I do streams, but I primarily just try to find interesting people to talk to. If you want to have an interesting thing to look at, first off, two things. I wrote an article called Panopticon Rising for agoristnexus.com. That article is about how the coronavirus is probably planned and certainly being used by certain people, including Gates, of his Microsoft buddies, and all of his highly influential people, to basically turn society into a panopticon, which is a universally visible jail where everybody in the center can see everybody, but like people on the edges can't see the center. So like I sort of use that as an analogy because they're opaque and the entire society is open to them. So this is being used as a way to increase tyranny. And if you have the time to read 6,700 words, feel free to go check out that article. And then, let me know how much you hated it, because so many people do that without actually having anything to disprove with it. But that and this conversation I recently had with a doctor who goes by Ryan Underhill as a pseudonym online. And he talked to me for 2 hours about how the system is rigging this entire thing, and the fact they're not the appropriate answer, and the fact that this super statism that's coming out is directly counterproductive to true epidemiology. I'll be putting out a couple videos relatively soon, but most of my stuff has been focused on articles for this site because I recently got this gig, and I'll be writing a couple more articles for them relatively soon. I mean, I'm most of the way done with one of them, and I'll be submitting it probably either tomorrow or the next day, and then the next one will be submitted within a week. But all that combined with my website, jeremiahharding.com, and my social media presence, which Insanity is free. You can just Google that. So all that.
All right, awesome. Hey, I would like to say it right here on air. I would love it if you came back again, man. I hope you will. That would be awesome. And if you want me over on your channel sometime again, hey, let's do another interview 4 years later. Like, why not?
Okay, well, what I'm thinking is, and because I'm going to start up my previous thing that I was doing, which was Shit Shooting Sunday. And if you want, I want one of the subjects to be minarchism versus anarchy. So that potentially might be happening, and I'd be happy to invite you to that one. But for the foreseeable like next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to be focused on putting out pre-recorded stuff and also talking to as many medical professionals as possible to try and get as many medical perspectives saying, hey, this is overreach, it's not working, and the government is using this as a way to spy on all of us, and the security grid is bad.
Hey, I will my little sister works in a hospital. She's a nurse, and she's working outside of Bossier, Louisiana, which is one of the hot spots, which is right outside of Shreveport. So you have the two hot spots in Louisiana, Shreveport and New Orleans. She's right in the middle, right? I'll talk to her and maybe I can get her connected with you because she has an interesting take on this. They're not freaking out, dude. It's the government freaking out, not them.
Right, and a bunch of hospitals are running empty. A bunch of doctors are furloughed. A bunch of doctors are bored enough to make TikTok videos. We're talking about a pandemic that is emptying hospitals, that it's making hospitals go, quote, unusable by the standards of the government. If you ask me, that's enough evidence to know that there is something specifically being lied about, because this entire thing, it doesn't make any sense to shut down hospitals when people need medical assistance. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it never will, because reasonably there's a huge amount of curves being spiked right now in other sectors that aren't COVID, and that's because everybody's shut down. It's an untenable situation.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll go ahead and get a hold of my little sister and I'll contact you and see if I can set that up.
Just
everybody
get her to read my article.
Go check
if she
out
reads my article and she finds that
go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Okay, well, I was just saying, if send her my article. If she likes my article and still wants to come on, then we could have a productive talk. But I don't want to have somebody hang up and when they find out I'm an anarchist. So just have her read that and then she can tell me whether or not she's interested.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, everybody check out Insanity is free. Go over, subscribe to his channel. Come on. I started out, I think he interviewed me on his podcast. I had like 150 subscribers. Now I'm almost double his size. What's going on, people? Come on. Go over there and subscribe to Insanity is Free. Jeremiah Talks. Go hit that up. Thank you, sir, for coming on such short notice because I hit you up out of nowhere.
And it gave me something to do with the post workout energy because I have probably too much caffeine in my diet.
Well, no, and I appreciate it because it was out of nowhere. You know, I didn't know if you were going to say yes or not. Thank you very much. Hey, Yorkie, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Not much in particular. All I could say is, Memes is going to be doing a charity stream in about 10 minutes. If anyone wants to go to that one afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Everybody go hate on Memes because he's a dirty centrist and he likes to sit on the fence and spin. So go make fun of him. All right, guys. We're out of here. Good night. Good luck. Don't go to France. We're out of here.